Chapter 1002. Yang Ming, you said that Wang Xiaoyan is your neighbor? She is in the Huashang district, right? Zhaoying finally couldn't hold it in, and asked. Yang Ming was shocked. He secretly thought, what should come finally came. How should I answer? Yang Ming really had a headache. Logically, the relationship between him and Wang Xiaoyan couldn't be exposed because the identities of both of them were very special, and the two of them did have more of a cooperative relationship. And, don't you also live in the Huashang district? Asked Yang Ming. After that, Zhao Ying's mother, Wang Guifan, bought a house for Zhaoying in the Huashang district and Yang Ming paid for it, so Yang Ming was naturally very clear. I haven't moved yet. Zhaoying shook her head. I still live in the original place. Why don't you move over? Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Zhaoying to still live in the original place. She didn't live in a new house, but she lived in a rented house. What is this? I always feel that there is an unreal feeling. I feel that the house is not mine. Zhaoying sighed and shook her head. You bought the house to hide from my mother's eyes and ears. Now you can take it back. I can't take your house for no reason. How is it for no reason? You are my sister, right? Yang Ming smiled and said, you can't deny this. There is nothing wrong with a brother buying a house for his sister. Yang Ming was very puzzled about what Zhaoying was still struggling and hesitating in her heart. There was only a thin layer of paper between the two of them, but Zhaoying still couldn't make up her mind. She always retreated at the critical moment. Just like just now, he had used words to hint several times, but Zhaoying avoided it. This made Yang Ming very helpless. It was also the reason why Yang Ming didn't dare to confess casually. Don't talk about this. Zhaoying felt that her heart was beating so fast that she couldn't bear it. She took a deep breath and said, I am going to buy something. After that, she ran away quickly. Yang Ming looked at Zhao Ying's back as she ran away, and he could only smile bitterly. What is Zhao Ying's resistance? Is it because of her shyness? Or is it Wang Xiaoyan? Or is it Qin Mengyan? Thinking of Qin Mengyan, Yang Ming suddenly remembered that during the temple fair, Qin Mengyan was furious at Zhaoying and scolded Zhaoying as a vixen. Yang Ming had a bit of a headache. This is not easy to handle. Qin Mengyan was a traditional girl. Although she could tolerate Lin Jiyun and Zhou Zhejianao, she might not tolerate Zhaoying. Because Zhaoying was their teacher in high school, Qin Mengyan couldn't accept the fact that her teacher became a sister. Perhaps the first one to jump out and make things difficult would be her. Thinking of this, Yang Ming suddenly had a headache. Perhaps Zhaoying also had a headache, right? In the blink of an eye, Zhaoying had already bought the shampoo she needed, but she had already paid the bill at the checkout counter in the supermarket and put it into a small bag. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile. This isn't a shameful thing. Why do you have to do this? Let's go. I'm done buying. Zhaoying looked at Yang Ming, who was in a daze, and said with a smile, oh, okay. Seeing that Zhaoying didn't want to talk about the previous topic, Yang Ming no longer said it. Anyway, he had prepared the memory tree. Zhaoying would understand his thoughts sooner or later. Yang Ming and Zhaoying pushed a cart of ingredients like a young couple who came to the supermarket to shop. Yang Ming enjoyed this feeling, and Zhaoying seemed to be enjoying it too, but neither of them said it out loud. After paying the bill, the two of them worked together to move these ingredients into the car. Although Yang Ming could carry these alone, the feeling of the two of them working together was different. Each of them carried one bag of things, and there was a faint tacit understanding between them. After getting in the car, Yang Ming started the car and silently drove to Zhao Ying's original residence. The familiar streets, the familiar community. It was almost a year later when they came here again. Yang Ming remembered the scene when he first sent Zhaoying home. It was still vivid in his mind, as if it was yesterday. Why? Don't you recognize this place? Seeing Yang Ming in a daze, Zhaoying patted Yang Ming's shoulder and smiled. Get out of the car. The car in front can't go in. We can only walk in. Did you forget? Oh. Yang Ming got out of the car and carried the big bag of ingredients with Zhaoying and walked in the direction of the community. Why isn't there a voice-controlled light installed here? Yang Ming looked at the dark corridor and couldn't help but frown. How dangerous is it for you to come back every day? You can move to the new house tomorrow. It's okay. I'm used to it. Zhao Ying smiled and said, I have lived here for more than 2 years. It's not like you haven't been here before. At that time, I got off work later than now. Besides, when school starts in a few days, I will live on campus. Then you should move there. The house there is empty. You still rent a house. Aren't you rich and have nowhere to spend it? Yang Ming said in a good mood, or you can take it that I rented the house to you, and you pay me the rent. Zhao Ying listened to Yang Ming and was very helpless. She couldn't really pay the rent to Yang Ming. She had no choice but to say, well, I will move there when school starts in a few days. Tomorrow, I will come over to help you move tomorrow morning. Or I will sleep here tonight? Yang Ming said with a big face. Zhao Ying was speechless. She knew that Yang Ming's face was big, but she didn't expect it to be so big. Oh, then it's settled. In fact, I'm also very tired. Yang Ming saw that Zhao Ying didn't speak, so he said, I will take it that you agree. No, Zhao Ying quickly exclaimed. However, after she finished speaking, she felt that her reaction was a bit too intense, so she eased her tone and said, What if Wang Xiaoyan comes back halfway? What to do? That's not easy to handle. If she comes back, we will have a threesome. However, she said, I'm just kidding. Zhao Ying breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't know which sentence of Yang Ming's was serious, so she was confused. Yang Ming was so shocked that Zhao Ying didn't know if she would be scared to death by him. The two people went upstairs one after another. Although the corridor was very dark, it was like daytime for Yang Ming. Yang Ming walked in front and pulled Zhao Ying. They soon came to the door of Zhao Ying's house. Zhao Ying was about to open the door, but Yang Ming smiled and took out the key from his pocket and opened the door. How do you have the key to my house? Zhao Ying was suddenly shocked. She looked at Yang Ming suspiciously. She thought, could it be that Wang Xiaoyan gave it to him? Thinking of this, there was a sour feeling. Wang Xiaoyan actually gave the key to this house to Yang Ming? The relationship between the two people must be unusual. You gave it to me. Yang Ming smiled.
Why?
Don't you remember? I gave it to you. Zhao Ying was stunned and asked stupidly. Yeah, during the holidays, I came to get something. You asked the students in the school dormitory to give it to me, Yang Ming said. Only then did Zhao Ying remember that she had given Yang Ming a spare key. However, a lot of things happened later that made her forget about it, so she didn't ask for it back. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but be surprised and happy. Yang Ming actually carried it with him. Give it back to me. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. If you sneaked in, I wouldn't know. Zhao Ying said as she reached out. I'm moving tomorrow. It doesn't matter if I give it to you or not. Yang Ming put the key back into his pocket. Just in time. You go to class tomorrow. I will help you move. Zhao Ying was completely speechless this time. It seemed that she could not move. Yang Ming was going to force it. When she came back from school tomorrow, the house would be empty. I don't have class tomorrow afternoon. Don't mess around in the morning. Wait for me to move together. Zhao Ying couldn't be helped. She could only compromise. Otherwise, some things belong to the landlord. What if you take them away? Okay, then in the afternoon, I will help you find some free workers. Yang Ming thought, when I ask Bao Sanli to send some security guards over, isn't it a bit overkill? The two of them entered the house. Zhao Ying sorted the ingredients and put them into the refrigerator, leaving only the things that could be used today. Then, she busied herself in the kitchen. Yang Ming had nothing to do, so he began to wander around the house. When he saw Zhao Ying busy in the kitchen, Yang Ming tiptoed into Zhao Ying's room. It wasn't the first time that Yang Ming came to Zhao Ying's room. However, when he came the first time, he didn't dare to be too presumptuous. When he came the second time, he was caught by Wang Xiaoyan. This time it was the most relaxed. Yang Ming took off his coat and threw it aside. Then, he lay lazily on Zhao Ying's bed. He smelled the fragrance, which made Yang Ming feel relaxed and happy. Last night, he and Wang Xiaoyan tossed and turned all night. He also spent a long time on the internet. Yang Ming hardly rested. At this moment, lying on the soft bed, Yang Ming felt sleepy. He fell asleep in a daze. Zhao Ying prepared the meal and called Yang Ming's name to come and eat. She called for a long time, but there was no movement. She had no choice but to go out of the kitchen and find Yang Ming personally. She pushed open the door of her room, but she saw Yang Ming lying on her bed sleeping soundly. Zhao Ying was suddenly angry and amused. This Yang Ming, how can he be so careless? Isn't it like he is at home? She gently called Yang Ming a few times, but she didn't see him wake up. Zhao Ying had no choice but to sit in front of the desk, turn on the computer, and do other things while waiting for Yang Ming to wake up. In fact, when Zhao Ying opened the door and came in, Yang Ming had already woken up. As an assassin, Yang Ming's reaction ability was very fast. He was just pretending to be asleep. However, Yang Ming was indeed a little sleepy. He knew that Zhao Ying wouldn't harm him, so he closed his eyes peacefully. Chapter 1003. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Ming woke up again after sleeping in a daze. He looked up and saw that Zhao Ying was still sitting in front of the computer in front of the desk, dealing with some documents. Yang Ming stretched and sat up from the bed. He looked at Zhao Ying, who was engrossed. He suddenly had a bad idea. He tiptoed out of the bed and carefully came behind Zhao Ying. It turned out that Zhao Ying was analyzing a classic business case. Yang Ming suddenly reached out and covered Zhao Ying's eyes. Of course, what Yang Ming wanted to cover the most was Zhao Ying's chest, but he didn't dare to do so. Now, the relationship with Zhao Ying hadn't reached that point. It was okay to touch inadvertently, but it was a bit fucked up intentionally. Zhao Ying definitely wouldn't let him go easily. It was possible that she would directly drive him out. Yes. Zhao Ying was shocked. She was shocked and cried out involuntarily. She had been studying alone in front of the computer every night for a while. She was used to it, so for a moment, she didn't think that Yang Ming was still in her house. When she remembered that Yang Ming was here, she suddenly breathed a sigh of relief and said angrily, "Yang Ming, what are you doing? Are you trying to scare me to death?" "No, I just want to see if you can still see after covering your eyes," Yang Ming said with a smile. "You?" Zhao Ying said angrily. "If I cover your eyes, can you still see?" "Yes," Yang Ming said with a smile. "Yes, really?" Zhao Ying was very angry. "That's fine. I will cover your eyes now. I want to see if you can see." As Zhao Ying said, she stood up and covered Yang Ming's eyes tightly with both hands. Then she said, "If you can't see, hee, I won't move tomorrow." "Okay, then you ask me. What do you want me to see?" Yang Ming asked indifferently. "And just look at what is written on my computer screen," asked Zhao Ying. "Oh, your computer screen says Qin Chi Wine, the rise and fall of the Central TV Liquor King." Yang Ming said word by word. "It doesn't count." Zhao Ying let go of her hand and said resentfully, "I knew you had a good memory. You performed it once in school." Yang Ming smiled and remembered when he was in high school. Many teachers suspected that he had cheated. At that time, only Zhao Ying believed that his results were real. Although he had proven that it was because of his superior memory, Zhao Ying was able to trust him so much before, which made Yang Ming's heart feel warm. "Sister Ying, thank you." Yang Ming was very daring and couldn't help but say, "Thank me?" Zhao Ying was stunned and said strangely, "Yang Ming, why did you suddenly say this? Why are you thanking me?" "When you said memory, I remembered the general exam in high school. Other teachers said that I cheated. Only you believed me." Yang Ming recalled the past and was very emotional. "Hee, you were talking about that time. If it was before, I would definitely think that you cheated. However, during that period of time, I personally tutored you. With the help of Chen Mengyan, your results naturally improved by leaps and bounds. It was not strange, so I felt that it was your real results." Zhao Ying said, "What's more, your results were not very good. Who did you copy?" However, no matter what, I was still very moved at that time. Yang Ming nodded and said, "You are moved, and you are still angry with me. I am going to be angered to death by you." Zhao Ying saved the case in the computer and said, "I have already prepared the meal in the kitchen. As a result, you slept for more than 2 hours. Now that it is so cold, the food is already cold. Are you hungry? I am going to heat it up now." And when you said that, I am really hungry. Yang Ming nodded and said, "Let's go." I will help you. Forget it. The kitchen here is very small. If you go, you will be in the way. Zhaoying waved her hand, picked up the apron on the hanger, and put it on. Yang Ming just took a look at the kitchen. It was indeed very small, so since Zhaoying didn't want his help, he had to give up. Even if Yang Ming went, he probably wouldn't be able to help much. Instead, he would cause trouble. Yang Ming and Zhao Ying went out of the room together. Zhao Ying went into the kitchen, and Yang Ming sat at the dining table in the square hall and waited. After the rice was done, it had been placed in the rice cooker so it could be eaten after a little heating. However, the two dishes and the soup made by Zhao Ying were already cold. Zhao Ying brought the dishes and soup into the kitchen, turned on the fire, and began to work again. After a while, there was a burst of aroma in the kitchen. Yang Ming suddenly had a big appetite and saliva. I really didn't expect that Zhao Ying was also a master of home cooking. Being able to sleep in the bed and cook in the kitchen is the best among women. Zhao Ying has one of them. I don't know if she can sleep in the bed. This needs to be tested. It is a difficult task. I have to persevere to achieve this great dream, Yang Ming thought. Yeah. Suddenly, Zhao Ying's scream came from the kitchen, pulling Yang Ming back to reality from his lascivious thoughts. Yang Ming was shocked and quickly ran to the kitchen. Sister Ying, what's wrong with you? Yang Ming rushed into the kitchen and came to Zhao Ying's side. No, nothing. Zhao Ying blushed and whispered, there was a cockroach. I was shocked. Cockroach? Where is it? I'll help you kill it. Did it hurt you? Let me check. Although Yang Ming was nominally looking for the cockroach, his eyes were glancing at Zhao Ying. Just now, he was still thinking about sleeping in the bed. Yang Ming was now thinking about sleeping in the bed. He couldn't calm down for a while. It's okay. Zhao Ying didn't know about Yang Ming's dirty thoughts. She thought that he was really looking for the cockroach, so she said, it has already disappeared. It's useless to look for it. Then I won't look for it. Yang Ming smiled and said, anyway, I will move tomorrow. I will say goodbye to these cockroaches. Go and bring the dishes I made into the house first, but the last small pork ribs with cabbage needs to be stewed with some water for a while. Zhao Ying said. Yang Ming looked at the fragrant fresh mushroom slices and the steaming borscht. He suddenly drooled. He squeezed in and wanted to bring the dishes out. Zhao Ying said, why are you squeezing me? I almost fell into the pot. The space in the kitchen was very small. Zhao Ying put the hot dishes and soup on the chopping board inside. Yang Ming wasn't a gibbon. He naturally had to squeeze in to get it. Yang Ming said with grievance, I'm serving the dishes. Then you can't turn sideways? Zhao Ying glared at Yang Ming and said angrily, why are you so stupid? How could Yang Ming be stupid? He didn't turn sideways just now because his previous thoughts were too lascivious, causing his body to have a reaction. Now, he hadn't recovered yet. If he turned sideways, wouldn't he be leaning on Zhao Ying? However, since Zhao Ying asked him to turn sideways, then he couldn't blame himself. In fact, Yang Ming could turn his back and lean back to back with Zhao Ying, but Yang Ming deliberately didn't think in this direction. Yang Ming turned his body and squeezed in sideways. The erection of his body just brushed past Zhao Ying's buttocks. Zhao Ying naturally felt it, but because she turned her back, she didn't think much about it. She thought that Yang Ming was pranking her, so she said casually, Yang Ming, what did you use to push against me? Ugh, nothing. Yang Ming thought that Zhao Ying would suffer a hidden loss. He didn't expect that she could still ask. Looking at her, it seemed that she really didn't know what pushed against her. Zhao Ying saw that Yang Ming didn't admit it, so she turned her head and glanced down. She didn't see anything special, but her eyes stopped on Yang Ming's pants, and her face suddenly turned red. This Yang Ming actually didn't forget to be mischievous for a while. She glared at him and said, what are you thinking in your head? Why are you thinking of such a messy thing? Sorry. Yang Ming looked at Zhao Ying innocently and said, you want me to turn sideways. How can you blame me? Indeed, I want you to turn sideways, but don't think of such a messy thing in your head. How can it be like that? Zhao Ying's face turned red as she scolded him. Sister Ying, I really didn't mean it. This is a normal physiological phenomenon. Yang Ming said with a sad face, haven't you heard of morning erection? After waking up, there will be this natural physiological reaction. I just woke up, so naturally, there will be a reaction. Can you blame me for this? Zhao Ying was stunned. She felt that what Yang Ming said seemed to be reasonable. It seemed that this was really the case. Did I blame him wrongly? Her eyes glanced at Yang Ming's lower body again. She said, "Then why don't you hurry up and serve the dishes? What are you waiting for?" AI. Sistering, in fact, you don't have to be so angry. Yang Ming sighed and said, "The effect of force is mutual. You think that I took advantage of you. In fact, aren't you the one who took advantage of me? Moreover, when I first came to your house, you saw it. This time, it shouldn't be a problem, right?"
Ah.
After Zhao Ying heard Yang Ming's words, she suddenly blushed. She couldn't help but remember the first time Yang Ming came and the situation in the bathroom. Her face was burning. Yang Ming took the dishes and soup and still smiled as he rubbed past Zhao Ying's body. Zhao Ying couldn't say anything, but there was a strange feeling that made Zhao Ying's heart beat faster. When Yang Ming passed by, Zhao Ying trembled. Chapter 1004. Zhao Ying clenched her teeth and resisted the strange feeling in her body. However, Yang Ming seemed to be doing it on purpose. Zhao Ying couldn't help but say, "Yang Ming, are you done? Why are you taking so long to serve a dish?" Yang Ming said pitifully, "Can you blame me? I'm carrying a plate in each hand. I'm afraid I'll spill it." Zhao Ying didn't know that Yang Ming could maintain a good balance even if he was carrying a few plates in each hand. She thought that he really couldn't hold it anymore, so she had to give up. Yang Ming dawdled for a long time. Finally, he carried 2 plates of fragrant soup out of the kitchen.
He was secretly happy.
It was so bouncy. Zhao Ying was uneasy because of Yang Ming. Her face was hot as if she had a fever. Zhao Ying believed that if an egg was placed on her face at this moment, it would definitely be roasted. Zhao Ying finished the last dish. She took a few deep breaths and carried the plate out of the kitchen. However, she saw that Yang Ming was already sitting at the table and drinking the soup. Zhao Ying was a little annoyed. This guy didn't wait for her to eat. What kind of person was this? She had worked so hard to cook for him, but he acted as if it had nothing to do with her. In particular, what made Zhao Ying angry was that Yang Ming actually drank the soup directly from the soup plate. He didn't even serve it. She snorted and said, "Yang Ming, if you drink like this, how can I drink it?" Yang Ming was stunned. Then he remembered that Zhao Ying also wanted to eat together. He said awkwardly, "Isn't this too fragrant?" "I couldn't resist the temptation, so I tasted it. I didn't expect that I couldn't stop myself after tasting it. It's simply too delicious." After being praised by Yang Ming, Zhao Ying's heart was overjoyed. She didn't have much resentment for Yang Ming eating alone without waiting for her. However, she still complained, "Then why don't you think about it? I haven't eaten yet." "Then let's eat together. It's not a big deal," Yang Ming said with a smile. 2 people drinking a bowl of soup. What's the big deal? Moreover, isn't Zhao Ying jealous that I eat a bowl of noodles with Wang Xiaoyan? Didn't he get it back this time? Eat together? Zhao Ying was stunned for a moment and then said, "Who wants to eat your saliva?" Hee, it's not like we haven't eaten before. During the temple fair, we already ate each other, haha. Yang Ming laughed loudly. Zhao Ying's face was red. "You don't talk nonsense. That was unintentional." Okay. Consider it unintentional," Yang Ming said with a smile. "Hurry up and sit down to eat. It will get cold in a while." "I think, before it gets cold, the food on the table will be eaten up by you." Zhao Ying rolled her eyes at Yang Ming and complained. Sure enough, Yang Ming had already eaten half of the soup in such a short time. Yang Ming smiled indifferently and filled 2 bowls of rice. 1 bowl was more for himself, and the other bowl was less for Zhao Ying. The 2 people sat around the table and ate. Although Zhao Ying said that she disliked Yang Ming's saliva, she still picked up the spoon and drank the soup with Yang Ming. She drank quite a lot. Yang Ming saw it in his eyes, but he sighed in his heart. A woman's mind is really like what is described in the book. She doesn't mean what she says. "Sistering, I didn't expect you to cook so well. I haven't eaten enough." Yang Ming wasn't praising Zhaoing, but he really felt that Zhaoing was a master of cooking. Really? Zhaoing said faintly, even if it's delicious, I won't cook it for you.
Why?
Yang Ming was stunned and asked with some puzzlement. No reason. Zhaoing suddenly smiled. Do you think I am a servant who cooks for you all day long? Haha, I didn't say that I will cook it every day. Just occasionally improve my diet. It's a deal. Yang Ming said to himself. You are really thick-skinned. If you say it's a deal, then it's a deal. Really? Zhaoing shook her head. She couldn't do anything about Yang Ming's rascal. Because Yang Ming slept before, it was about 8 o'clock in the evening after dinner. It was already late. Although Yang Ming wanted to stay and continue to flirt with Zhaoing, he also understood that some things were useless. More haste, less speed. His relationship with Zhaoing hadn't developed to the point of sleeping together. If Yang Ming forced himself to stay, although Zhaoing wouldn't say anything, her impression of him would definitely plummet. She would think that he was a very casual person who wasn't serious about relationships. Therefore, instead of letting Zhaoing ask him to leave, Yang Ming might as well take the initiative to say goodbye. Anyway, there was still a chance tomorrow night. He didn't miss this moment. So he stood up and said, Sistering, it's almost time. I will go back first. After you finish class tomorrow afternoon, call me. I will help you move. Seeing that Yang Ming still hadn't forgotten to move, Zhaoing was also very helpless. She had to nod and agree. Well, wait until I finish class. I will call you. Then it's a deal. Yang Ming smiled and handed the bag he carried with him to Zhaoing. Sistering, there are gifts I brought to you from Macau. There is also one that I bought for you in the morning on the business street. It is very meaningful. If you have time, you should study it more. Yang Ming naturally referred to the memory tree, but he couldn't say it too obviously. He could only hint more, hoping that Zhaoing could discover the secret as soon as possible. Zhaoing took the gift from Yang Ming. She felt sweet in her heart. Yang Ming still remembered her after all, and he didn't forget to buy a gift for her when he went out today. However, there was nothing special on the surface. She smiled faintly. Thank you. Then I will accept it. But you must look at it. That is my sincerity. Yang Ming reminded her with some concern. I know. Zhaoing nodded, but she wondered in her heart. Isn't it just a gift? Can I look at it when? Coming out of Zhao Ying's house, Yang Ming breathed a sigh of relief. He finally completed a very difficult task. As for whether Zhaoing would look at it immediately, and whether she would discover the secret after looking at it immediately, Yang Ming didn't know. However, she would discover it sooner or later. Yang Ming wasn't worried about this. If it really didn't work, he could just hint again. He walked from Zhao Ying's house to his car. After getting in the car, Yang Ming didn't drive away immediately. Instead, he sat in the car, took out a small box from his arms, and studied it. This was something that Zhang Zhishan and Lan Ling had given him. Yang Ming's thoughts seemed to have crossed thousands of mountains and rivers. He saw Lan Ling's strange smile. She was smiling at him as if she was saying, Husband, I miss you. Yang Ming shook his head gently and quickly opened the small box. Inside the small box, there was an even smaller box and a folded piece of paper. Yang Ming first opened the letter and read it. Husband, I heard from Grandma that the enemy forces may find trouble with you. I am very anxious and sent Zhang Zhishan to protect you. Zhang Zhishan is one of my disciples. He is proficient in voodoo, but he is best at dispelling voodoo. Although he is a little silly, he can be trusted. With him by your side, I am very relieved. In addition, I will give you a small box. When you encounter a danger that you can't solve, open the box. There is a child voodoo in the box. The mother voodoo is with me. I will quickly receive the news and go to help you. Miss you.
Kiss you.
Love you. Torment you. Lan Ling. The last few words made Yang Ming's blood boil. Torment? She is referring to the bed. Haha, Lan Ling, this little beauty, she really loves me. Thinking of all the previous things, Yang Ming's heart was like a monkey and a gallop. Picking up the small box, Yang Ming looked around for a long time, but he couldn't see anything special. He looked inside with his X-ray vision. The inside was also dark. He didn't know what was inside. However, according to Lan Ling, this thing was a child voodoo. Once it was released, the mother voodoo on Lan Ling's side would get a reaction. That is to say, if I open this box now, Lan Ling will come quickly? This is quite a tempting idea. Although Yang Ming had many beautiful companions, his longing for Lan Ling had never decreased. Especially in the middle of the night, when he thought of all the happy things in the past, the joys and sorrows, Yang Ming was very fascinated. Although Yang Ming wanted to open this box now and let Lan Ling return to his side, Yang Ming was still a rational person. He wouldn't do such an irrational thing. It was true that he missed Lan Ling, but didn't Lan Ling miss him too? This was the same. If Lan Ling could come back, she would definitely fly back immediately. There was no need for him to do anything. Yang Ming didn't want Lan Ling's painstaking effort to be wasted by him, so he solemnly put this box into his arms and decided to keep it close to him. He read the letter that Lan Ling wrote to him a few times. Although there weren't many words, the strong concern was overflowing. Since Lan Ling said that Zhang Zixin was a reliable and capable person, then what else could Yang Ming say? Lan Ling sent this person to him, so he had his uses. Although he didn't want to have someone follow behind him every day, there was no other way. Yang Ming didn't want to be poisoned again. The previous experience was still fresh in his mind. If he didn't accidentally foresee Lan Ling's grandfather, Old Man Lan Hai, he would have been dead for a long time now. Although Lan Ling said that his voodoo could be immune to most voodoo, Zhang Zixin also said that some powerful and special voodoo couldn't be immune. The voodoo that he was poisoned with last time was probably like this. Since it was decided, it was necessary to meet with Zhang Zixin again to discuss future countermeasures. Thinking of this, Yang Ming took out his mobile phone and called Zhang Zixin. Chapter 1005. Zhang Zixin was also waiting for Yang Ming's call in the hotel at the moment. He didn't dare to have the slightest neglect. His mission was to protect Yang Ming. Lan Ling's instructions were the direction of his life. So when Zhang Zixin returned to the hotel, he turned the ringtone of his mobile phone to the loudest and put it in front of him, waiting for the call to come in. A burst of urgent ringtone sounded. Zhang Zixin quickly picked up the phone and glanced at the caller ID. It was Yang Ming's number that he saved today. Zhang Zixin was relieved. Yang Ming finally called. In fact, he already had this number. Lan Ling had already told him once, but he didn't know that the person he met today was Yang Ming, so he saved it again. If Yang Ming didn't call, Zhang Zixin didn't know what to do. Although he had Yang Ming's phone, he was also afraid to disturb Yang Ming. As he was hesitating, Yang Ming's call came in. Hello, Mr. Yang. Zhang Zixin picked up the phone. Brother Zhang Zixin, where are you? I'm done here. Should I go to you now? Asked Yang Ming. I'm at the student hotel near Songjiang Industry University. Master said that you live nearby and asked me to come here to find you. Zhang Zixin said. Oh, okay, then you wait for me. I will come to you. Which room are you in? Yang Ming knew about the student hotel. It was near the university. In the basement, room 1106. Zhang Zixin said. Okay, you wait for me. I will be there in about 20 minutes. After Yang Ming finished, he hung up the phone and rushed in the direction of Songjiang Industry University. Lan Ling probably thought that I lived in the original place, right? So she asked Zhang Zixin to go there to find me. Soon, Yang Ming found the student hotel. There were only a few hotels near the university. When school started, the hotel staff came to the university to advertise. At that time, Zhang Bin also brought back a few, claiming that he wanted to get a room with Zhao Cixi. Yang Ming also remembered the approximate location of these hotels in case of emergency. He didn't expect that it would really come in handy now. When Yang Ming entered the student inn, the lady boss greeted him with a smile. Student, are you staying here or taking a break? How many people are there? I'm looking for someone. Yang Ming shook his head and said, 1106. Oh, it's downstairs. You can just go down the stairs in front. Seeing that he wasn't here to stay, the lady boss didn't waste her breath. Yang Ming went down the stairs and found room 1106. He knocked on the door. Soon, the door was opened. Zhang Zixin poked his head out from inside. Seeing that it was Yang Ming, he opened the door. Mr. Yang, you are here. Please come in. After Yang Ming entered the door, Zhang Zishan closed the door and said, Brother Yang, did you read the letter that Master wrote to you? Yang Ming didn't speak, but he waved his hand and made a silent gesture. Although the small hotels near the university were generally very reputable, they wouldn't install things like bugs and cameras in the rooms. Because once it was discovered by the students, the reputation of the hotel would be completely ruined. News on campus spread the fastest. It wouldn't take long for the hotel to close down. But there were exceptions to everything. For example, there were cameras in the clothing store that he went to today. Yang Ming began to carefully search every corner of the room. Because the topic that he was going to talk about with Zhang Zishan was relatively secretive, Yang Ming had to be careful. Mr. Yang, don't worry. I have looked for it. This time I have to be careful. Zhang Zishan saw Yang Ming's actions at the moment and knew that Yang Ming was looking for something like a camera. But after saying this, his face turned red. So, what if I have looked for it? Didn't I look for it today and still couldn't find it? In the end, it was still discovered by Yang Ming. Yang Ming nodded. There was indeed no eavesdropping or peeping equipment in this room. Yang Ming was relieved and sat on the sofa in the room. Xiao Qi, go and get a drink for Mr. Yang. Zhang Zishan told his girlfriend.
Don't bother.
I just ate. I'm not thirsty. Yang Ming waved his hand and said, let's talk about business. Okay. Zhang Zishan was a simple person. He was honest and not hypocritical. Since Yang Ming didn't want to drink, he didn't insist. Instead, he sat next to Yang Ming and said, Mr. Yang, did you see the letter that Master gave you?
I have seen it.
Yang Ming nodded and said, however, before we talk, it is best to change some of the names. For example, you call me Mr. Yang. It sounds awkward. You can call me Yang Ming or Brother Yang. It seems that you are younger than me, right? Zhang Zishan nodded and said, well, then I will call you Brother Yang. I am 18 years old this year. I am 20 years old. You won't lose out by calling me Brother Yang. Yang Ming smiled and said, also, in front of outsiders, don't call Lan Ling Master. You should call her Miss Lan like before. Okay, I understand. Zhang Zishan agreed after listening. He also knew that in today's society, it was easy to misunderstand and doubt if he said something like master and disciple, so he nodded to show that he understood. Well, we can continue to talk about the topic just now. Yang Ming said, Lan Ling said that you are good at curing voodoo, right? Compared to Sure. Miss Lan, I'm still far behind. Zhang Zishan smiled and scratched his head as he spoke. I didn't ask you to compare with Lan Ling, Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I mean, compared with others. Among the apprentices, I am still considered good. Zhang Zishan said, however, when it comes to voodoo, Xiao Qi is better than me, so Miss Lan asked me to come with her to help you. Yang Ming nodded. Okay, I got it. However, my current identity is just an ordinary college student. I'm not a rich young master. I can't go in and out with a bodyguard. So, you can follow me secretly, but don't let others see it. Yang Ming nodded. This is no problem. I know. Zhang Zishan said, Xiao Qi, and I will protect you secretly. We are very sensitive to voodoo users. As long as there is no voodoo user, we won't do anything. Brother Yang, to tell you the truth, I am not very good at ordinary fighting. Yang Ming listened and laughed. Of course, I don't need you for ordinary fighting. When I need you, I will call you. For example, you can help me kill others with voodoo. This is not very good. Master said that we can't use voodoo on innocent people. Zhang Zishan said with some difficulty. People who are against me are naturally not innocent people. Yang Ming said with a smile. Isn't it? That is also true. Brother Yang is the person we protect. Those who are against Brother Yang are our enemies. It is reasonable to use voodoo to kill them. Zhang Zishan thought so and nodded. Tomorrow, I will ask someone to help you get a car, and then install a satellite locator on my car. So, you can accurately grasp my location at any time. It is also convenient to track me. Yang Ming thought about it and said, Zhang Zhishan was very surprised. He didn't expect Yang Ming to be so thoughtful. He was still worried about these things, but Yang Ming took the initiative to give a solution, so he quickly said, "That's it. Brother Yang, you are too thoughtful. This way, it is much more convenient for me. You are the person Lan Ling sent to me, so you are one of us. I can't treat my own people badly." Yang Ming smiled and patted Zhang Zishan's shoulder. "Right, you are in Songjiang. Did you contact Lan Ling's grandmother?" Yang Ming thought about it and asked. "That is not true. I only contact Miss Lan. My task is to protect your safety. Miss Lan didn't ask me to participate in other things." Zhang Zishan shook his head and explained. It was good that Zhang Zishan didn't participate. With Zhang Zishan's current skills, he was definitely not the opponent of those enemies. Even Lan Ling's grandmother wasn't very confident, let alone them. "Right, tomorrow I will ask my friends to help you find a few houses near where I often stay. It is convenient for you to track. But it may not be too big. It is only a few dozen square meters because my family is also living in an old house. It is not a big house." Yang Ming thought about it. Zhang Zishan couldn't always stay in the hotel. It was not convenient to do things. It was proper to arrange a place for him to stay. Yang Ming was going to ask Zhang Zishan to buy a small apartment in the Huashang district tomorrow. He would also buy or rent a house in his original neighborhood as a temporary place for Zhang Zishan to stay. "That's great," Zhang Zishan said. "A few dozen square meters is small. At least it is much better than the environment here. However, Brother Yang, you have to spend money. Miss Lan didn't give us much money. Hee, I still have money. The money that Lan Ling gave you can be your usual pocket money. So, I will give you a bank card. I will deposit some money for you every month. You can pay for the gas for the car." Yang Ming said. Zhang Zishan nodded and didn't refuse. He also knew that the relationship between Yang Ming and Lan Ling was unusual, so he didn't need to be polite with Yang Ming. In front of Yang Ming, it was the same as in front of Lan Ling. After the basic things were explained, Yang Ming was ready to get up and leave. However, Zhang Zishan proposed to send Yang Ming. Yang Ming hesitated and finally nodded. It was good to let him familiarize himself with the environment first. Therefore, Yang Ming and Zhang Zishan left the hotel one after another. Xiao Qi stayed in the hotel to look after the house. "You drive. Familiarize yourself with the terrain of Songjiang." Yang Ming threw the car key to Zhang Zishan and instructed him. Chapter 1006. Zhang Zishan took the car key and got in the car. Although he wasn't very proficient at the beginning, he finally started the car and drove in the direction that Yang Ming said. "After learning to drive, I haven't touched a car for several years. I have been in the Miao village, so I'm not very proficient in driving." Zhang Zishan scratched his head and explained. "It's okay. You should be proficient in driving for a few days." Yang Ming nodded. It was similar to when he first learned to drive. There should be a period of adaptation for everything. Zhang Zishan was not familiar with the road, so he drove slower. Yang Ming didn't urge him. This trip was mainly to let him recognize the road. If he drove too fast and couldn't remember anything in the end, it was equivalent to driving in vain. The car passed through the gate of Songjiang Industry University and drove to the Huashang district not far away. At this time, the students in the school had already gone to bed. Most of the residents in the Huashang district were from nearby technology companies. They had already gone to bed, so it was quiet. Except for the passing cars, there were few pedestrians walking back and forth. Suddenly, Zhang Zishan slowed down a little. It was almost like he stopped on the road. "What's wrong?" asked Yang Ming, puzzled. "There is someone nearby." Zhang Zishan frowned and said softly, "Someone? Who?" Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable after listening. He didn't know what Zhang Zishan meant by someone. "There is someone who knows how to use voodoo." Zhang Zishan explained in a low voice. People who know how to use voodoo are very rare in the general metropolis. I didn't expect to meet one when I just arrived. After Zhang Zishan finished, he parked the car in the temporary parking line on the side of the road and quietly observed the surroundings. "People who know how to use voodoo? Does it have anything to do with us?" Yang Ming wasn't very interested in this. Instead, he felt that Zhang Zhishan was a bit too sensitive. As long as the other party wasn't targeting him, it didn't have much to do with him for the time being. I don't know if it has anything to do with us, but if it appears nearby, we must be careful. Find out who it is. Know yourself and know your enemy to be victorious, said Zhang Zhishan. Yang Ming didn't understand either. Since Zhang Zhishan made it sound so serious, Yang Ming decided to just sit on the side and watch. After a long time, there was still no movement from Zhang Zhishan. Yang Ming was a little puzzled. He couldn't help but ask, I say, Zhishan, the person you said used the goo, hasn't he appeared yet? No, I just felt a familiar aura, but before he used his goo, I couldn't determine his exact location, Zhang Zhishan said. Yang Ming nodded and didn't ask any more questions. He just stood there quietly. To be honest, Yang Ming was still very interested in the mysterious things like voodoo. Perhaps it was because of Lan Ling, or perhaps it was because of the voodoo in his body. However, although Yang Ming stayed there, he was not idle. Zhang Zhishan used his senses to search, but Yang Ming used his special ability to search. He searched back and forth within a few miles to see if there were any suspicious targets. When Yang Ming saw a familiar figure, he was shocked. Chen Afu. Yes, it was Chen Afu. He saw Chen Afu hiding behind a display board near the bus stop, not far away. He hid himself in the darkness, but it wasn't obvious. If you looked from the outside, you wouldn't notice that there was someone there. Why did this kid come out in the middle of the night? Yang Ming wondered. Could it be that he wants to come out and scare people again? Then, the previous traffic-haunted case, could it be this guy's doing? Chen Afu was good at scaring people by pretending to be a ghost. Yang Ming had caught him more than once, so it seemed that he had a criminal record. However, this traffic-haunted case was quite strange. It couldn't be achieved by ordinary pretending to be a ghost, so Yang Ming was also very skeptical whether the person who did this was Chen Afu. That day, when I was with Xia Shui, the scene I encountered was very strange. According to the scene when I saw Chen Afu in the past, that kind of low-level pretending to be a ghost shouldn't have such a high-level effect. But Zhang Zhishan just said that there was the smell of a person who used voodoo nearby. According to the results of my search, I only found Chen Afu alone. Then, connecting it to the strange scene when I was with Xia Shui that day, Yang Ming was shocked. Right? Voodoo. That day, I felt like I was under some kind of witchcraft. According to my judgment of my body's reaction, it should be a kind of voodoo. Could it be that the voodoo person was Chen Afu? This bold idea made Yang Ming very surprised and shocked. It was no wonder that Yang Ming was very clear about Chen Afu's character after being classmates with him for 3 years. He belonged to the kind of guy who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He didn't have any special ability. He was just Wang Jitao's little follower. Now he suddenly became a voodoo person. How could this not make Yang Ming shocked? However, this was just a guess. Yang Ming didn't get confirmation. Yang Ming also wanted to catch Chen Afu now to ask, but Zhang Zhishan didn't seem to find his target here. Yang Ming didn't dare to act rashly. If my judgment is wrong, and the person Zhang Zhishan is looking for isn't Chen Afu, then wouldn't I alert the enemy? Therefore, Yang Ming decided to wait for a while and see the development of the situation before making a decision. However, Yang Ming's eyes were locked on Chen Afu's body. He didn't leave for a moment. Yang Ming wanted to see what this guy was going to do. It didn't take long for Chen Afu to move. Chen Afu reached into his arms and took out a strange round utensil from his arms. Yang Ming was shocked. Voodoo bowl. This was something used to store voodoo worms. After Yang Ming was almost killed by voodoo that day, he went home and studied voodoo for a while. So, he could see the use of the thing in Chen Afu's hand at a glance. I got it. Yang Ming wanted to say something, but Zhang Zhishan also reacted. He closed his eyes and seemed to feel something. Someone is going to use voodoo, but I can't determine his position yet. Yang Ming didn't have any doubts this time. Although it was a bit inconceivable for Chen Afu to learn how to use voodoo, at this moment, he did see Chen Afu take out a utensil used to store voodoo worms. At the moment when Chen Afu took it out, Zhang Zhishan also felt it. So, besides Chen Afu, who else could it be? Go. Follow me to catch the person. Yang Ming patted Zhang Zishan and hurriedly ordered. Then, he opened the door and rushed out. He strode in the direction of Chen Afu. Zhang Zishan didn't understand who Yang Ming was going to catch, but his mission was to protect Yang Ming's safety. At this moment, he had already felt that there was a person who could use voodoo nearby, and Yang Ming ran out of the car alone. How could Zhang Zishan be at ease? He didn't bother to lock the position of the voodoo user. He followed Yang Ming and ran out of the car. Tonight was the deadline that Elder Yu gave to Chen Afu. If he couldn't get a freshly dead body for him, Elder Yu would kill Chen Afu as a sacrifice for cultivation. Therefore, Chen Afu couldn't care much. Even if there were police patrolling, even if he was in danger of being caught, he had to come out and commit a crime. Chen Afu studied the map of Songjiang for a long time. Finally, he set the crime location for tonight to be near Songjiang Industry University. Now the school hadn't started yet, so the pedestrians were particularly scarce at night. However, there would occasionally be vehicles passing by on the road, which was suitable for him to commit the crime. But even so, Chen Afu didn't dare to be careless. He stood here for a while. After confirming that there were no police nearby and there was no danger, he began to prepare to commit the crime. However, when Chen Afu just took out the voodoo powder from his arms, he felt the wind behind his collar. Chen Afu was shocked. He quickly turned around, but he found that his collar had been grabbed by someone. Behind him stood a person that Chen Afu didn't want to see even in his dreams. That was Yang Ming. Chen Afu's face suddenly changed and showed a horrified expression. Why are you grabbing me? Yang Ming was simply his nemesis. No matter when, as long as he met Yang Ming, it was definitely not a good thing. From the time when he complained in class to the later trip to the resort, in short, Chen Afu was very unlucky. Why am I grabbing you? Yang Ming smiled coldly. He stared at the thing in Chen Afu's hand and asked, You asked me why am I grabbing you? What are you holding in your hand? Yang Ming's sentence reminded Chen Afu that the thing in his hand was made of a special voodoo powder. It was scattered in the air. People who came in contact with it would have hallucinations and do some strange things. Thinking of this, Chen Afu was relieved. I have this magical voodoo powder in my hand. Why should I be afraid of him? Thinking of this, Chen Afu quickly scattered the voodoo powder in his hand toward Yang Ming. Brother Yang, be careful. Zhang Zishan saw that Chen Afu suddenly attacked and quickly screamed to remind him. He was also a person who was proficient in voodoo, so when he saw the item in Chen Afu's hand, he understood that the person he was looking for was him. Although he didn't know how Yang Ming found this person before him, he only knew that the thing in Chen Afu's hand was very dangerous, so he quickly reminded him. However, it was already too late. Yang Ming had already come into contact with the voodoo powder sprinkled by Chen Afu. He was dizzy, and his mind suddenly changed into a scene. Yunnan Miaozheng. A messy scene appeared in front of his eyes, however. These were only for a moment. Yang Ming's vision immediately became clear again. When he looked at Chen Afu again, he saw that he had been caught by Zhang Zishan. The small device in his hand was also taken away. Chapter 1007. That's right. It was this kind of feeling that made Yang Ming's heart suddenly gather together. When he was with Xia Shui that day, it was this feeling. First, he had a hallucination, then he woke up. It was really Chen Afu, this kid, who was messing around. I didn't expect to catch this kid by accident today. The voodoo powder in Chen Afu's hand was snatched away. He suddenly became dejected. This was the only weapon he relied on to win. Without such a weapon, he lost the capital to fight with Yang Ming. In terms of fighting, he wasn't Yang Ming's opponent at all. If he fought with Yang Ming, he estimated that he would be beaten to a pulp in less than 3 moves. Of course, this was Chen Afu's idealization. According to Yang Ming's current strength, 1 move could let him meet the King of Hell. Before Chen Afu came out of the house today, he had already prepared for the worst. At most, he would be caught by the police. However, even if he was caught by the police, it was better than being killed by Elder Yu. Chen Afu had seen Elder Yu's means. It was simply inhumane. Chun Afu would rather be shot to death than be sucked dry by Elder Yu. Don't hit me. I won't resist. Chun Afu said directly like a hoodlum. Yang Ming couldn't help but smile. Isn't this guy too timid? He still dares to come out and scare people with such courage? Yang Ming shook his head. He quickly carried Chun Afu into the car and threw him in the back seat. Yang Ming and Zhang Jishan sat in the front row. At the same time, they stared at Chun Afu sideways. Zhang Zishan wanted to speak, but Yang Ming waved his hand and signaled him not to speak first. Chun Afu, I didn't expect that we would meet again half a year after graduation. Yang Ming looked at Chun Afu and said with a sneer, but I have to admire you. Your method of pretending to be a ghost is getting better and better. You can even play with voodoo now? How did you know? Chun Afu was shocked. He thought that Yang Ming caught him because he disturbed Yang Ming at the foot of West Star Mountain in the suburbs. He didn't expect Yang Ming to know so much. Of course, I know. I also know that the recent series of haunted cases were all done by you, right? Yang Ming didn't expect Chun Afu to be so soft. When he just asked, Chun Afu admitted it. He didn't say, what did you say, but how did you know? This was equivalent to admitting to Yang Ming's question. Ah. When Chun Afu heard this, his face suddenly turned pale. He lowered his head. He didn't expect Yang Ming to even know this. What do you want? Who taught you this voodoo method? Yang Ming didn't answer Chun Afu's question but continued to ask. Chun Afu was shocked. I can't say this. Thinking of Elder Yu's terrifying appearance, Chun Afu's whole body was chilled. He couldn't betray Elder Yu. Otherwise, he would die miserably. Thinking of this, Chun Afu couldn't help but tremble. You don't want to say it, right? Yang Ming smiled and stared at Chun Afu. He didn't know why, but Chun Afu had a fear of Yang Ming from the bottom of his heart, just like Elder Yu. He was afraid of Elder Yu, but he was also afraid of Yang Ming. Moreover, at the moment, he was facing Yang Ming, not Elder Yu, so Chun Afu was a bit embarrassed. He didn't know if he should tell the truth or not. Okay, even if you don't say it, I probably know. Yang Ming said faintly, a person named Elder Yu taught you voodoo, right? Just now, while Chun Afu was struggling mentally, Yang Ming used his special ability to pry into Chun Afu's thoughts. As a result, he found such a clue. But it was just a clue. Yang Ming didn't know who Elder Yu was. He just saw such a name flash in Chun Afu's mind. You know it all. Chun Afu exclaimed. You already know it? I probably know it all, but I still want to hear it from you. Yang Ming tricked him. He let Chun Afu mistakenly think that he knew everything. In this way, Chun Afu's psychological defense would collapse instantly. In fact, Yang Ming really overestimated Chun Afu. How could this guy have any psychological defense? As long as Yang Ming scared him with a few more words, he would probably say everything. Now, Chun Afu thought that since Yang Ming already knew a lot, he didn't hide it anymore. He spilled the beans like a bamboo tube. He told his experience of pretending to be a ghost to scare people and how he met Elder Yu in the hospital, worshipped Elder Yu as his teacher, and helped Elder Yu to scare people to death. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Chun Afu to have such a legendary experience. Who is Elder Yu? What's his full name? Asked Yang Ming. I don't know. Chun Afu replied with a stammer. You really don't know? Yang Ming bared his teeth and looked at Chun Afu with a scary look. Really? I really don't know. I don't dare to hide it, Chun Afu said quickly. Seeing Chun Afu's trembling appearance, it didn't seem like he was lying. Yang Ming nodded and continued to ask, what does Elder Yu want to do with so many dead people? I'm not very clear about this. It is said that he is practicing some martial art. He needs the blood of people who have just died. What is it called? Chun Afu frowned. He seemed to be unable to remember. Sinister voodoo? Zhang Jishan suddenly interrupted and asked. Yes, it is sinister voodoo. It is sinister voodoo. Chun Afu nodded and said, sure enough, then it won't be wrong. Zhang Jishan said to Yang Ming thoughtfully, Brother Yang, I basically know the general idea. Let's talk about it later. Yang Ming gave Zhang Jishan a look and let him be patient. After he finished interrogating Chen Afu, he would study other things. Can you contact Elder Yu? Yang Ming asked Chen Afu. Yes. Chen Afu nodded and said, as long as I frighten people to death, I will call him. After a while, he will come to collect the body, but it may not be him coming in person.
I don't know about this.
Yang Ming suddenly had an idea. I don't know if I can let Chen Afu call Elder Yu and lure him out. Zhang Zixin saw Yang Ming's expression. He seemed to know Yang Ming's idea and shook his head suddenly. Yang Ming was a bit puzzled, but it wasn't appropriate to ask at this time. He glanced at Chen Afu and directly cut Chen Afu's neck with his palm, knocking him out. Yang Ming said, is there anything wrong with letting him lure Elder Yu out? Of course, it's not appropriate. Zhang Zixin suddenly smiled bitterly. Brother Yang, if I guess correctly, this Elder Yu in Afu's mouth is Priest Yu Wu in our clan. He persecuted the old patriarch and took away the sacred object of the clan. Then, he didn't hesitate to lose his conscience and cultivate sinister voodoo in an attempt to unify our clan. Speaking of this, Brother Yang, you should understand how powerful this is. Even the old patriarch wasn't his opponent, and he was defeated by him. Miss Lan is now concentrating on cultivation just to deal with them. In other words, you are not the opponent of this Elder Yu? Yang Ming nodded and finally understood Zhang Zixin's meaning. That was, this Elder Yu was quite powerful. He couldn't be caught by the strength of two people. Not only me, but even if I join forces with my master now, we may not be his opponent. Only the founder's mother can fight with him. Zhang Zixin smiled bitterly. Founder's mother? You mean Lan Ling's grandmother? Yang Ming's heart suddenly moved. If Chen Afu was handed over to Lan Ling's grandmother, would she have a way to deal with Elder Yu? Thinking of this, Yang Ming suddenly felt that this was a good idea. Whether Lan Ling's grandmother could defeat Elder Yu or not, it was her own judgment. This was more reliable than him and Zhang Zixin going to catch Elder Yu together. Yes. Zhang Zixin nodded and said, she is the founder's mother. Then let's send this kid to Lan Ling's grandmother first and see if she has any ideas. Yang Ming said. Zhang Zixin nodded and said, this is a good idea. Otherwise, I really don't know how to deal with it. After all, the involvement of this matter is too wide. It's not something I can solve. Yang Ming nodded and said, let's go. Let's go now to avoid new problems. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to send Chen Afu to Ma Xiaoyao, but Ma Xiaoyao asked him to help keep Chen Afu's identity secret. He didn't even let Lan Ling's grandmother tell, let alone Zhang Zixin in front of him. Therefore, Yang Ming thought of sending Chen Afu to Lan Ling's grandmother. Zhang Zixin followed Yang Ming's instructions and drove in the direction of the West Star Mountain Reservoir. After parking the car near the reservoir, Yang Ming carried Chen Afu and walked with Zhang Zixin to the stone tablet by the reservoir. This was a secret passage. Yang Ming was led by Lan Ling's grandmother last time. The two stood next to the stone tablet. Yang Ming didn't know how Lan Ling's grandmother activated the secret mechanism last time. He only remembered that she groped a few times on the stone tablet and the mechanism of the secret passage activated. Therefore, Yang Ming learned from Lan Ling's grandmother and groped back and forth on the stone tablet. However, after groping for a while, the stone tablet still stood there motionless. However, it was no wonder. This West Star Mountain Reservoir was a tourist attraction. During the summer, there were tourists everywhere during the day. If this mechanism was so easy to activate, then wouldn't it have been activated thousands of times? There must be a pattern and technique that I don't know. Just as Yang Ming was at a loss, he heard a creaking sound suddenly beside him. The stone tablet began to move slowly to the side, revealing a cave below. It was the cave that Yang Ming saw last time. Chapter 1008. Yang Ming didn't know how Lan Ling's grandmother found out that he and Zhang Zixin were outside, but Lan Ling's grandmother was mysterious. Perhaps she had her own unique method. Zhang Zixin was startled by this sudden change. Why did the steel suddenly move and open up a hole? Originally, he thought that this was just a meeting place. Yang Ming and the others would meet here, but he didn't expect there to be such a change in the middle. Here, Zhang Zhishan looked at the deep tunnel in front of him and asked uncertainly, "Brother Yang, are we going in here?" "And let's go in." Yang Ming nodded and said, "Hurry up. Although it is night, I am afraid that someone will come here." After that, Yang Ming took the lead and stepped into the tunnel with Chen Afu. Then, he said to Zhang Zhishan behind him, "You just follow me." Today, there was no light in the tunnel. Yang Ming could see at night, but Zhang Zhishan couldn't. He was afraid that Zhang Zhishan would fall, so Yang Ming let Zhang Zhishan follow closely behind him. When the two completely entered the tunnel, the hole behind them slowly closed, and the stone tablet returned to its original state. In the tunnel, it also became dark, darker than before. "Brother Yang, this place is really..." Zhang Zhishan had never been here, so he was a little nervous. After all, he wasn't as bold as Yang Ming. He was only more proficient in voodoo, but when it came to actual fighting, he couldn't deal with cold and hot weapons. "No problem." Yang Ming smiled because he had already seen that Lan Ling's grandmother was waiting for him in the room where they met last time. Seeing that Yang Ming was full of confidence, Zhang Zhishan was also relieved. He followed Yang Ming and quickly walked inside. However, the closer he got, the more relieved Zhang Zhishan felt. This was because he had already sensed a familiar aura. It was unique to those who used goo, and it was a type that belonged to his lineage. Yang Ming led Zhang Zhishan to Lan Ling's grandmother's room with ease. Zhang Zhishan let out a sigh of relief at this time. When he saw Lan Ling's grandmother, he quickly kowtowed and said, "Zhang Zhishan greets Ancestor Mother." "Zhang Zhishan, get up." Lan Ling's grandmother said faintly. There was an indescribable dignity in her words. Even Yang Ming felt deep respect for her. However, Yang Ming and Lan Ling's grandmother were very familiar with each other, so he said, "Grandmother, we caught a person. He also knows how to use voodoo. He said that Elder Yu taught him. I think it seems to be related to your enemy force, so I brought him." "Elder Yu?" Lan Ling's grandmother frowned and looked at Chen Afu on the ground. She asked with a dignified expression, "Yes, Ancestor's wife." Zhang Zhishan quickly explained his analysis and thoughts, as well as the process of capturing Chen Afu. Sinister voodoo. Lan Ling's grandmother's face showed a hint of anger. This priest Yu actually practiced such inhumane kung fu. If he mastered it, the Miao village will be in trouble. Yang Ming didn't know much about the grievances, but when he saw Lan Ling's grandmother and Zhang Zhishan's worried expression, he knew that the matter was serious. "Grandmother, do you think we should use Chen Afu to lure Elder Yu out, and then we can kill him together?" Yang Ming hesitated and suggested. "Damn, if it doesn't work, we can just shoot him randomly."
I don't believe that he won't die.
Lan Ling's grandmother shook her head and said, "No, Priest Yu is a suspicious person. He is insidious and cunning, and the most important point is that I don't have the confidence to deal with him."
Ah?
"It can't be. He is so powerful. Even grandmother isn't his opponent?" Yang Ming was shocked. In the past, only the old man Lan Hai was more powerful than him. Lan Ling's grandmother said, but since he used a trick to harm Lan Hai, there was no news of Lan Hai. Now, to subdue him, we can only pin our hopes on Lan Ling. Yang Ming was a little surprised after listening. Lan Ling is so powerful. Lan Ling's grandmother nodded. She is concentrating on cultivating a secret voodoo. This is the Lan family secret, but there are only a few people who can successfully cultivate it. However, Ling is talented and has a pure Yin body. It is easier to succeed in cultivating it. Now is the critical moment. We can't complicate things. It turned out to be like this. Yang Ming said after listening, "Then this guy is useless? I will just send him directly to the police." "Right, grandmother. Why don't you wake him up and ask him what he wants?" "Didn't you already ask?" Lan Ling's grandmother shook her head with a smile. "I have already said that High Priest Yu is a suspicious and cautious person. This kind of small fry can't know too many of his secrets." Yang Ming nodded. Indeed, if Elder Yu really told the secret to Chen Afu so easily, then he wouldn't be Elder Yu, and he wouldn't be able to scheme against Lan Hai. "Since you want to send him to the police, Then don't wake him up here, so that he won't know more. Lan Ling's grandmother said. Okay. Yang Ming said, I will take him away in a while. Zhang Jishan, you stay here. I have something to tell you. Lan Ling's grandmother said to Zhang Jishan. With Chen Afu, Yang Ming left the West Star Mountain Reservoir. He originally thought that Elder Yu was just an ordinary person, but he didn't expect him to be so powerful. Even Lan Ling's grandmother was afraid of him. However, for this mysterious internal war of the Miao village, Yang Ming couldn't intervene. These people were different from ordinary people. Elder Yu was obviously practicing an evil kung fu, probably like the Dongfang booby in the novel. Ordinary people couldn't be his opponent. Although Yang Ming was powerful, he might not be the opponent of such a person. Therefore, since Lan Ling's grandmother had a careful plan, then he gave up the idea of acting on his own. While carrying Chen Afu, Yang Ming called Xia Bingbao in the car. For this kind of thing, it was better to discuss it with Xia Bingbao first. Anyway, it was quite strange. If he could use the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to kill Elder Yu, it would be wonderful. Yang Ming. Xia Bingbao picked up the phone and was a little surprised. He didn't expect Yang Ming to take the initiative to call him. On that day, he asked Yang Ming to join the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. He also used a semi-coercive method, so it was inevitable that Yang Ming would have a bad impression of him. It's me. Where are you? Asked Yang Ming directly. I am at the Guobin Hotel. Xia Bingbao said, Are you looking for me? And there is something. However, you have to come down and pick me up, said Yang Ming. Okay, no problem. Call me when you arrive. Although Xia Bingbao didn't know what Yang Ming wanted, he agreed readily. The Guobin Hotel was the city government's guest house. It was generally not open to the public, but it was not unusual for Xia Bingbao to stay here with his identity. Yang Ming drove to the hotel's parking lot and called Xia Bingbao. After a while, Xia Bingbao stood at the entrance of the hotel. Yang Ming took Chen Afu out of the car and walked towards Xia Bingbao. No way, Yang Ming? You killed someone? Xia Bingbao saw Yang Ming dragging the motionless Chen Afu. He asked with some surprise, You didn't really kill someone, right? This is a bit difficult. Although we have the right to act first and report later, we also need a good reason. Damn. When Yang Ming saw Xia Bingbao's gloating face, he knew that this kid intended to tie him firmly to his chariot, but how could Yang Ming let him do as he wished? He just said faintly, This is the culprit of the traffic-haunted case.
What?
You even made up a reason? It can't be, right? Xia Bingbao was stunned and said, But this is not very good. The traffic-haunted case is a big case. How can you be so careless? Besides, you can't just beat him to death casually, right? Yang Ming was really dumbfounded. He waved his hand and said, Who said that I beat him to death? I just knocked him out, but this person is really the culprit of the traffic-haunted case.
Really?
Xia Bingbao widened his eyes in disbelief. He squatted down and carefully examined Chen Afu. After confirming that he was just unconscious, he was relieved. He said in surprise, Yang Ming, you said that he is the culprit of the traffic-haunted case? You caught him just like that? As a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, I can't do nothing. So, I reluctantly did a little thing for you. Yang Ming said with a righteous face, However, it is very good to do one case a year. Don't look for me again, if you have something this year. Xia Bingbao listened to the first half of Yang Ming's sentence and almost believed it. This Yang Ming is really serious and responsible for his work, but after hearing the second half of the sentence, Xia Bingbao almost fell down. This kid is serious for a while and not serious for a while. I don't know which sentence is true. However, he also knew that Yang Ming had real skills. Otherwise, he wouldn't have strongly invited Yang Ming to join the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Xia Bingbao nodded and helped Yang Ming drag Chen Afu into the hotel. Although they saw Xia Bingbao and Yang Ming dragging a person into the hotel, no one asked questions. The leaders of the Municipal Bureau had already explained that Xia Bingbao was an investigation team sent by the higher-ups to investigate the case. In the Guobin Hotel, There were often municipal bureau and discipline inspection departments that temporarily handled cases here, so it was normal to arrest people. They were already used to it. Yang Ming, you said that he is really the culprit of the traffic haunted case? After entering the room, Xia Bingbao couldn't wait to ask. Whether it is or not, you can wake him up and ask him yourself. Yang Ming said indifferently, is there a drink? I am a little thirsty. There are a lot of drinks on the shelf over there. Take whatever you want to drink. Xia Bingbao pointed to a food shelf in the direction of the door. Chapter 1009. Yang Ming casually took a bottle of green tea, opened it, and drank a few mouthfuls. Xia Bingbao couldn't wait to wake Chen Afu up. Chen Afu asked in confusion, who are you? Xia Bingbao flashed his ID in front of Chen Afu. Of course, it was a military ID. Otherwise, most people wouldn't recognize the other ID. Yang Ming was a little amused. Xia Bingbao's procedures for handling the case were meticulous. He walked over and yelled at Chen Afu, Chen Afu, tell me in detail what you have done. Chen Afu was shocked when he heard Yang Ming's voice. His face was ashen, and he didn't dare to hide anything. He recounted what he had done, including the incident of pretending to be a ghost in the hospital to scare people. However, Xia Bingbao listened with a dignified expression. Voodoo. Can you ask the person behind you to come out? Yang Ming saw that Xia Bingbao was determined to continue digging, and he was happy. If Xia Bingbao directly solved Elder Yu, it would be wonderful. I say, old Xia, there is nothing for me to do. I will go first. Yang Ming said, however, if this kid doesn't cooperate, you can call me. I guarantee that I have a way to make him cooperate. Chen Afu shuddered. His fear of Yang Ming was from the bottom of his heart. Since Yang Ming had something to say, how could he dare not cooperate? He nodded again and again. Brother Yang, I know. The matter involved mysterious voodoo, so it couldn't be determined by a general criminal case. Xia Bingbao also realized the seriousness of the matter, so he was ready to directly intervene in the investigation in the name of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. However, Yang Ming was not proficient in these things. It was already a great contribution to catch Chen Afu, so Xia Bingbao didn't insist. He said, well, leave the rest to me. Yang Ming, you just joined, and you have made such a great contribution. I really didn't misjudge you. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you get the credit. You'll definitely get it. Yang Ming didn't care much about fame and fortune. If he wanted to be a hero, he wouldn't have kept such a low profile when he killed Ji Shuisheng. He smiled and said, forget about it. I don't want to be promoted and get rich. If there is really any merit, then let Xia Shui have it. You won't object, right? Xia Shui? Xia Bingbao was stunned. He looked at Yang Ming, and there was a mysterious smile at the corner of his mouth. Well, after our case is done, we have to transfer it to the local police station, so the external credit will be credited to them. But your suggestion is good. Xia Shui is also my sister. Yang Ming was stunned. All right, let's go. You do as you see fit. Yang Ming had already given Xia Shui a credit last time, so he didn't need another one. With Xia Bingbao's cooperation, Chen Fei wouldn't say anything. In any case, it was the Supernatural Investigation Bureau that solved the case. Whoever the credit was, it was up to them. Wait, Yang Ming, this is your ID. Xia Bingbao handed a portfolio to Yang Ming and said it was delivered by special delivery. It just arrived today.
Oh.
Yang Ming took it in his hand. He didn't really care. Did Yang Ming still need these things to do things? For example, if he caught Chen Afu, wouldn't he still be caught without the ID? After leaving the Guobin Hotel, Yang Ming went straight home. He still had to help Zhaoying move tomorrow. It was already very late, so he had to go back and have a good rest. On the other side, Xia Bingbao didn't neglect at all. He quickly finished Chen Afu's transcript and asked detailed questions about some details. However, the things that Chen Afu knew were indeed limited. He repeated those things over and over again. Chen Afu was the culprit of this case, but the person behind him was even more suspicious. He actually used the corpse of a dead person to practice martial arts. Since the Supernatural Investigation Bureau knew about this kind of person who endangered the safety of society and the public, it was impossible not to solve it. However, the seriousness of the matter had exceeded expectations. Xia Bingbao had to call the bureau chief for instructions. After the bureau chief heard it, he was also very surprised. He didn't expect it to be like this. He couldn't make a decision immediately. He would give Xia Bingbao a reply after tomorrow's meeting. Xia Bingbao was not in a hurry. It was simply a fantasy to catch Elder Yu with his own strength. He must have a large number of people to cooperate with him. Yang Ming returned to the villa, but he unexpectedly found that the lights in the villa were still on. He looked at the watch. It was already past 12 o'clock. At this time, are the three girls still awake? Yang Ming walked to the door of the villa and tried to press the doorbell. It didn't take long for the door to be opened. It was Auntie Li who opened the door. "Mr. Yang, you're back. Judge's mother is here." Yang Ming was stunned. Judge's mother hasn't left yet? No, she is chatting in the living room. Miss Chun and Miss Lin are with her, said Auntie Li. Yang Ming had mentioned Auntie Li's Mr. and Miss many times. However, when he said it, Auntie Li would agree. When he turned her head, she would return to her original state. Yang Ming had no choice but to let her be. It may be a habit formed during the unified training. Yang Ming didn't deliberately correct it. Yang Ming frowned. He and Zhou Jiejia's mother, President Hua, had no common topics. President Hua's aggressive appearance was still fresh in Yang Ming's memory. Originally, Yang Ming planned to go out and hide. After President Hua left, he would come back. However, he thought about it again. This is my home. Why should I hide? Thinking of this, Yang Ming lifted his leg and walked in. He saw President Hua sitting on the sofa not far away and chatting with Zhou Jejia. Chun Mengyan and Lin Jiyun were also sitting on the side with smiles on their faces. It seemed that the four of them were chatting quite well. Auntie Hua, although Yang Ming had some resentment towards her, she was still an elder. She would be one of his mothers-in-law in the future. Yang Ming had to call her respectfully. Yang Ming is back. President Hua saw Yang Ming. She was very happy to turn her head and said, "Auntie has been waiting for you for a long time. However, I heard that you had something to do, so I didn't ask Jejia to call you." Yang Ming responded faintly. He smiled and said, "Auntie Hua." However, when the words came to his mouth, he didn't know what to say. Yang Ming realized that he really didn't have any common topics with President Hua. Perhaps because of the previous estrangement, Yang Ming was a little embarrassed. He had to find a topic casually. "Auntie Hua, you left. Is the company okay?" "It's okay. The vice presidents are following. It's the same even if I'm not there. Besides, the recent projects are on track. It's fine even if I don't go." President Hua smiled and said, "After Judge's accident, I thought it through. Business is really not very important. What is the reason for me to work hard all my life? Isn't it for Jejia to have a happy life in the future? Therefore, when I see Jejia's happy appearance now, I am satisfied. I don't need that money. Moreover, Jejia is with you. She doesn't lack money." President Hua's last sentence was very strange. Yang Ming was embarrassed. President Hua was probably complaining that Yang Ming didn't reveal his identity in front of her. If he revealed his identity early, she wouldn't treat Yang Ming like that. After listening to President Hua's heartfelt words, Yang Ming's resentment toward her faded a lot. He sat on the sofa opposite and said, "Auntie Hua, it's great that you can think like this. Yang Ming, through the contact just now, I feel that Chen Mengyan and Lin Jian are also very good girls. They are also very good to Jejia, so I also believe that they won't bully Jejia. But you, don't waste Jejia's feelings for you." President Hua smiled and sighed. Yang Ming didn't expect President Hua to suddenly mention this. Listening to her tone, it seemed that Zhou Jejia was officially betrothed to him. Yang Ming's heart was suddenly excited. Although Yang Ming didn't care so much about President Hua's opinion, even if she objected, she couldn't stop the fact that he and Zhou Jejia were together. However, with President Hua's approval, there was a lot less resistance. Yang Ming didn't care, but it didn't mean that Zhou Jejia didn't care at all. Although Zhou Jijia had said before that she didn't care about the opposition in her family, it was inevitable that there would be some discomfort in her heart. Now, all these problems no longer existed. You can rest assured, Auntie Hua. I will be good to Jijia. Yang Ming had never encountered such a scene, and he didn't know how to deal with it. However, he still learned from the TV and promised to Auntie Hua. Obviously, Auntie Hua didn't care about what Yang Ming said. She just nodded with a smile. Since she had figured it out, then what Yang Ming said didn't make much sense. She just cared about whether Zhou Jijia would be happy in the future. Auntie Hua nodded and took Zhou Jijia's hand. She extended it in front of Yang Ming and said very solemnly, Yang Ming, then I will hand Jijia over to you. If you don't treat her well, I won't spare you. Yang Ming stood up in fear and trepidation. He took Zhou Jijia's hand from Auntie Hua's hand and held it tightly in his hand. He was excited. Auntie Hua, I know. Zhou Jijia was already shy at the moment. Her small face was red like a cooked crab shell. She lowered her head and didn't dare to make a sound. She was at the mercy of Yang Ming and Auntie Hua. Jijia, let's have a hug to prove our love. As Yang Ming said this, he reached out his big hand and hugged Zhou Jijia. Zhou Jijia groaned and hurriedly got out of Yang Ming's arms. What are you doing? Mom is still watching. I just want her to see it. Don't you see that Auntie Hua is worried about us? So, we have to be lovey-dovey to make her feel at ease. Yang Ming said seriously. Auntie Hua looked at Yang Ming and her daughter, who was full of happiness. She sighed slightly. After this incident, Auntie Hua was already very open-minded. Other things were secondary. As long as Jijia liked to do something, let her do it. Chapter 10:10. Well, I won't disturb your rest, President Hua said as she stood up. It's getting late. I should go back.
Mom.
Zhou Jijia looked at her mother with some worry. Mom, it's already midnight. If you go back now. Yeah, Auntie Hua, stay here for a night. It's good to accompany Jijia. Anyway, there are many rooms here. Yang Ming's impression of President Hua had changed a lot since just now. It wasn't as bad as before. President Hua was also afraid that Yang Ming would have a problem with her, so she was anxious to go back. Through the recent contact with the senior management of the Ming-Yang Group, President Hua also discovered that Yang Ming wasn't simple. Just the fact that Yang Ming's father suddenly changed from an ordinary worker to the president of the group was somewhat unusual. President Hua wasn't a fool. No matter how capable an ordinary worker was, it was impossible for him to suddenly become the president of a group. No one would believe that there was no story behind it. Moreover, after the restructuring of Ming-Yang Heavy Industry from the Songjiang Machinery Factory, it became a private enterprise. At this time, the chairman was different from the previous state-owned enterprise. At this time, the chairman was generally the one who had the most shares, which was the largest contributor. Since Yang Dashan could become the chairman, the ability of Yang Ming's family couldn't be underestimated. Moreover, through the recent project cooperation with the original Wang's Century Xiongfeng Group, it was now under Ming-Yang Entertainment. In the contact with Ho Jinhan, President Hua found that when Ho Jinhan knew that his daughter was Zhou Jijia, he became indifferent to the project negotiation. Of course, this indifference wasn't the kind of indifference, but indifference to the benefits. Ho Jinhan simply gave up the negotiation. How much benefits are you willing to give? How much money you say is how much. How do you want to do it? Just like a sucker. This made President Hua really understand the influence of Yang Ming. What kind of person was Ho Jinhan in Songjiang? President Hua had already investigated very clearly. It could be said that he was similar to the Tian family and Sun family in Donghai. They were all very arrogant, but only when they negotiated with him, they showed rare easygoing and concessions. Not only that, but the Sun family was not very happy about the original plan to invest in the Sea Bright Moon Hotel in Donghai because the Sun family's hotel resort was not far from the Sea Bright Moon Hotel. There would definitely be a conflict of interest between the two in the future. However, since the cooperation with Ming-Yang, the resistance on the Sun family's side had disappeared in an instant. Even the previously vicious Sun family's underlings had become kind. All these changes had to be attributed to his daughter's boyfriend, Yang Ming. Although President Hua was quite critical about the fact that Yang Ming had other girlfriends, now, after weighing the pros and cons, it wasn't so important. Moreover, after the incident of Zhou Jiejie being shot, President Hua also thought it through. No matter how much money he had, could he buy his daughter's health and happiness? His daughter could do such a stupid thing like blocking a bullet for Yang Ming. What else couldn't she do? If he forcibly separated her and Yang Ming, it was possible for Jiejie to commit suicide. Therefore, President Hua didn't dare to take this risk again. Yang Ming was indeed a good person. Although he was a bit fickle, his daughter didn't care. Why should he care? Everything was for the sake of his daughter's happiness. Other things were secondary. In summary, it made President Hua make up his mind and say the previous words. Seeing that his attitude was exchanged for Yang Ming's understanding, President Hua was very happy. He said with a smile, "I really miss Jiejie. Then I will sleep with Jiejie tonight. Yang Ming, don't be unhappy." It's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay. Yang Ming smiled, but he said in his heart, "Even if you don't come, I can't sleep with Jiejie and the others." This kind of sexual happiness plan still needs to be considered. If there is a chance, I should call Sun Jie, that coquettish fox, and Xiao Qing's godsister to demonstrate it on the spot so that Chen Mengyan, Lin Jiun, and Zhou Jiejie can learn from it. However, if they really came, there would be a world war in the family. Forget it. Zhou Jiejie had her own room. President Hua and Zhou Jiejie stayed there together, but Chen Mengyan took Lin Jiun away. Yang Ming could only sigh. This matter was really not good. According to Chen Mengyan's character, it seemed unrealistic to have 3P, 4P with others. It was really challenging my IQ. Yang Ming couldn't be helped. He returned to his room and was alone again. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. He originally thought that his happy life was about to begin, but he didn't expect that it was still so far away. After lying on the bed for a while, Yang Ming's heart was itching, but he couldn't do anything. He put on a coat, pushed open the door, and came to the corridor. However, he heard a slight sound of the door opening. Yang Ming was suddenly shocked. He looked up and saw Zhou Jiejie wearing pajamas coming out of the room. Little Jiejie still cares about me. She knows that I am lonely, so she specially came out to accompany me. Yang Ming thought so in his heart, so he strode toward Zhou Jiejie. Zhou Jiejie also saw Yang Ming. Her face suddenly turned red. It was like a little rabbit in her arms. Her heart was beating fast. She whispered with some surprise, "Yang Ming, Yang Ming." "Jiejie, is your mother asleep?" Yang Ming ran over and didn't care so much. He directly gave Zhou Jiejie a bear hug.
No.
Zhou Jiejie was hugged by Yang Ming. She was very nervous. Her breathing became rapid. She struggled slightly, but she didn't dare to make a big movement. "You dare to come out and date me when you are not asleep. Haha, you are really amazing." Yang Ming had to admire this chick's boldness. She was so open about having an affair.
Date.
Zhou Jiejie was stunned. When she saw Yang Ming's expression, she immediately knew that he misunderstood. She was dumbfounded. "Yang Ming, I want to go to the bathroom." "Hey?" Yang Ming suddenly opened his mouth wide after listening. "Bathroom? You came out just to go to the bathroom?" Zhou Jiejie nodded shyly. "Didn't you come to date me?" Yang Ming was embarrassed and asked without giving up. "No." Zhou Jiejie lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Yang Ming. She was afraid that Yang Ming would be angry. Haha, it's fine. It's fine." Yang Ming smiled self-deprecatingly. "Then you go to the bathroom. I will go back to my room by myself." "Right. Do you need me to accompany you to the bathroom?" "It is so dark, no need." Zhou Jiejie blushed and ran away quickly. Yang Ming thought, "Motherfucker, I am really self-righteous this time. It is so shameful." However, when did Zhou Jiejie, this chick, become so shy? She used to be very bold. She even took the initiative to kiss me. AI, it is all because of that bullet. It must have changed Zhou Jiejia's brain structure and made her become a shy person. Yang Ming thought gloomily. He returned to his room, lay on the bed, and fiddled with a bag of things that Xia Bingbao gave him out of boredom. He didn't know if he didn't look, but he was shocked when he saw it. There were not only 2 documents but also a dedicated satellite phone. It was probably worn during the mission. On the side of the satellite phone there was an internal contact list. It was the phone number of several important people in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Among them was Xia Bingbao. It seemed that Xia Bingbao should be one of the core figures of the Investigation Bureau. He was not as simple as an ordinary investigator. However, this had little to do with Yang Ming. The reason why Yang Ming joined this organization as a peripheral investigator was actually to contribute to society. That was all. Although it seemed that Xia Bingbao had great privileges and excellent treatment, these were not what Yang Ming wanted. Yang Ming was used to being unrestrained. He still preferred a free life. As he was thinking about it, he suddenly heard a click sound from his room door. It was pushed open from the outside. Could it be that Wang Xiaoyan, that chick, couldn't help but come again? But that's not right. Wang Xiaoyan should have come in through the window, not through the door. Yang Ming quickly pretended to be asleep, but his attention was completely focused on the door. At this time, a black shadow crept in. It was actually Zhou Jiejia. It can't be. She is distressed for her husband again, so she took the initiative to come here? Yang Ming thought lustfully. Zhou Jiejia's heart was beating fast at the moment. Just now, when she was hugged by Yang Ming, Zhou Jiejia's longing for Yang Ming became stronger. After going to the bathroom, Zhou Jiejia thought of Yang Ming's disappointed look. She suddenly couldn't bear it. So, she gritted her teeth and walked directly to Yang Ming's room. Seeing that Yang Ming was lying motionless on the bed with even breathing, Zhou Jiejia breathed a sigh of relief. She thought, this Yang Ming only knows how to be mischievous. He just said some ambiguous words to me, and now he actually fell asleep so quickly. Zhou Jiejia was slightly disappointed. It was not easy for her to make up her mind. She wanted to talk to Yang Ming secretly, but Yang Ming was in deep sleep. Looking at Yang Ming's sleeping face, Zhou Jiejia was a little absent-minded. Am I really his girlfriend? Then where did the memories from before go? However, in any case, I got what I wanted, but it felt unreal. In fact, in Zhou Jiejia's heart, she still wanted to be close to Yang Ming. However, these days, she was with Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiun. Zhou Jiejia was embarrassed to say that she missed Yang Ming and wanted to be close to him. Now there was an opportunity. Yang Ming, this dead person, was still sleeping so soundly. Zhou Jiejia couldn't bear to wake him up. She hesitated, leaned down, and kissed Yang Ming's face. Then, she quickly left, fearing that Yang Ming would find out. Looking up and seeing that Yang Ming was still sleeping soundly, Zhou Jiejia was relieved. She turned around and was ready to leave Yang Ming's room quietly. Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice. Chapter 10-11. You want to leave after stealing food? You are not a good child. Zhou Jiejia was shocked. She felt that she was hugged from behind. She suddenly turned her head and saw Yang Ming looking at her with a smile. His eyes were bright. Where was the trace of sleepiness? You didn't fall asleep? Zhou Jiejia was like a child who was caught doing something wrong. She blushed and couldn't speak. I fell asleep, but I was woken up by your kiss. Yang Ming smiled. Zhou Jiejia pursed her lips. Apparently, she didn't believe that Yang Ming would misbehave. In the past 2 nights, Chen Mengyan had told her a lot of things about Yang Ming's mischief, so she wouldn't believe the reason of woke up by the kiss. What I said is true. Haven't you heard the story of Snow White and Prince Charming? Yang Ming continued indifferently. Oh, Xiao Rui, I was wrong. It should be the story of Snow White and Princess Charming. Snow White fell asleep. When Princess Charming kissed him, he woke up. Stop it. Zhou Jiejia blushed and complained. How am I Princess Charming? Why aren't you? If I say you are, then you are. Yang Ming smiled. I mean, Princess Charming sounds so bad. I don't want to be. Zhou Jieji said shyly. Yang Ming laughed after listening and took Zhou Jieji into his arms. They fell on the bed together. What are you going to do? Zhou Jieji was shocked. Although she was already prepared in her heart, when it really happened, Zhou Jieji was a little timid again. Weren't you very bold just now? You even took the initiative to kiss. Yang Ming smiled and said, Come on, let's practice again. Kissing is like drinking water. It needs to be practiced often. Zhou Jieji listened in confusion. Why do we need to practice drinking water? What is this nonsense? However, as she was distracted thinking about these inexplicable things, her small mouth was sealed by Yang Ming's big mouth. Woo. Zhou Jieji struggled subconsciously and then fell into Yang Ming's arms softly. I haven't felt this for a long time. I remember that the last time I kissed Yang Ming was at the class reunion. However, that was unintentional. Only this time, Yang Ming really took the initiative. Although Zhou Jieji was very shy, she was very happy. Unintentional and Yang Ming taking the initiative were two different concepts. Zhou Jieji trembled. She grabbed Yang Ming's back and let him do whatever he wanted to her. Yang Ming's mouth wasn't idle, but his hands weren't idle either. He directly reached into Zhou Jieji's loose pajamas and climbed all the way to her chest. Zhou Jieji suddenly trembled and opened her eyes. However, her mouth was completely sealed by Yang Ming. She wanted to speak, but she couldn't say anything, so she closed her eyes again and let Yang Ming do whatever he wanted to her body. Hee, I haven't seen you for a few days. You seem to have grown a lot. I remember that last time in the hotel room, Yang Ming saw Zhou Jieji's chest. At that time, it didn't seem to be as big as now. Could it be that during this period of time in the hospital, the nutrition went to the chest because of the nutrient solution every day? Yang Ming thought evilly. However, while one of Yang Ming's hands was mischievous, the other hand was not idle. He nimbly unbuttoned Zhou Jieji's pajamas and stripped her upper body directly. Anyway, the heating in the villa was 24 hours. She didn't feel cold at all. Even if she didn't wear anything, she wouldn't catch a cold. Sister Lin, do you think we have neglected Yang Ming a little these days? Chen Mengyan hugged her legs and sat on the bed. She curled up in the quilt and asked Lin Jiyun, who was in the same position. I don't know. Lin Jiyun shook her head. You are too indecisive. You will be bullied by him in the future. Chen Mengyan smiled helplessly. Do you want to go to Yang Ming now? I don't. Lin Jiyun suddenly blushed and shook her head quickly. You little traitor. Chen Mengyan smiled and tickled Lin Jiyun's armpit. Yeah. Sister Mengyan, don't mess around. I can't help it, haha. Lin Jiyun was not to be outdone. She reached out and touched Chen Mengyan's chest. Yang Ming likes to touch you here the most. You're being sarcastic, aren't you? How did you know? You must know because Yang Ming likes to touch you. Chen Mengyan directly exposed Lin Jiyun's lie. The two girls laughed and played together. After a long time, they were tired and stopped. They lay on the bed on each side. Sister Lin, why don't you accompany Yang Ming tonight? He is quite pitiful by himself. When we went upstairs, I saw his disappointed expression. I couldn't bear it. Chen Mengyan sighed, and her tone returned to normal. She said to Lin Jiyun, Sister Mengyan, you should go. Lin Jiyun missed Yang Ming, but she felt that it was better to let Chen Mengyan go. Why should I go? Chen Mengyan smiled and said, Can I go to him when I want to? In Yang Ming's mind, I am probably a very stingy and narrow-minded person. If I always monopolize him, even if he doesn't say it, he will definitely blame me in his heart. How can that be? Sister Mengyan, I think you are very tolerant. Lin Jiyun thought so from the bottom of her heart. When you knew about the matter between me and Yang Ming, you didn't stop it. I am very grateful. Speaking of which, it was you and Yang Ming who had that relationship first. Yang Ming is a very soft-hearted person. I want to thank you for not using this to threaten Yang Ming to break up with me. Chen Mengyan sighed and said faintly, Of course, I won't. Lin Jiyun shook her head and said affirmatively, I am already very satisfied with what I have now. Sister Mengyan, can we be good sisters for life? Okay, and Jujia too. I brought her home. I didn't discuss it with you. I was afraid that you would have an opinion. Chun Mengyan nodded and said, These things, Sister Mengyan, you can make the decision. I have no opinion. Lin Jiyun said indifferently. Okay, let's not talk about this. Go quickly. Yang Ming is probably anxious waiting for you. He will be angry with me later. Chun Mengyan patted Lin Jiyun and urged her. I go? Lin Jiyun was a little uncertain. Am I really going? If I ask you to go, then go. You clearly want to go, but you are still overcautious. You have to change this bad habit in the future. Chun Mengyan said with a straight face. If you don't go, I will be angry. Then I will go. Lin Jiyun hesitated and got up from the bed. Then, she turned her head and said to Chun Mengyan, Sister Mengyan, why don't we go together?
Together?
Chun Mengyan was stunned. Then, she looked at Lin Jiyun stupidly. How can we go together? We are good sisters. We should be together. Lin Jiyun said with a red face. If Yang Ming was at the side, he would definitely be overjoyed. He would praise that Sister Lin was simply a goddess. She could come up with such a great idea. It was worthy of praise. That's not good. Chun Mengyan's face was also red. Although she and Lin Jiyun were really close like sisters now, they slept together for a few nights. Even when they took a shower just now, they took a shower together. It could be said that there was nothing to avoid between them. However, doing that thing was different. Yang Ming could only do it with one person at the same time. What about the other person? Watched by the side. Chun Mengyan felt shy when she thought about it. If I watch Sister Lin and Yang Ming do it, it's still okay. If I am watched by Sister Lin, how can I live in the future? This damn girl, she can even think of such a fierce idea. Chun Mengyan was really shy. She nodded Lin Jiyun's head and said, I don't know what is in your little head. You must have been influenced by Yang Ming, that pervert. How can that be? Lin Jiyun was somewhat aggrieved. I just think that we are sisters. We have to share good things together. Yang Ming is doing bad things to you, and you still say that it's a good thing. Chun Mengyan was a little dumbfounded. I don't know what kind of bewitching drug he gave you. Then he is doing bad things to me. I also like it very much, and it's very comfortable. Lin Jiyun whispered, Sister Mengyan, aren't you like this? Chun Mengyan was suddenly speechless. Lin Jiyun was right. I thought I could get an ally, but I didn't expect Sister Lin to be a little traitor no matter what. Chun Mengyan had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, well, then let's do it together. But let's make a deal. I will only let Yang Ming do bad things to you. I will just be by the side with you. Sister Mengyan, you are even worse. Lin Jiyun was suddenly shy after listening. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Chun Mengyan. Chun Mengyan was curious. She wanted to see what Sister Lin and Yang Ming were like when they were together. She pulled Lin Jiyun up without any explanation. The two walked to Yang Ming's room. At first, Lin Jiyun was still a little shy, but after 2 steps, she didn't feel anything. Anyway, she had agreed with Sister Mengyan that they would be good sisters for life. What was there to be afraid of? Sooner or later, there would be a day when she would return. The two tiptoed to the door of Yang Ming's room. Chun Mengyan just wanted to knock on the door, but Lin Jiyun pulled her. Sister Mengyan, what if Yang Ming is already asleep? It's not good for us to disturb him, right? Chun Mengyan was amused. No one knew Yang Ming's temper better than her. She thought, he can't wait for us to disturb him. It's best to disturb him every day. However, it was fine not to knock on the door. Chun Mengyan decided to push the door and go in. If Yang Ming was asleep, it was good to scare him. So he nodded, gently grabbed the doorknob and opened it. Chapter 10-12. Chun Mengyan and Lin Jiyun both opened their mouths in surprise at the same time. Chun Mengyan reached out to cover Lin Jiyun's mouth to prevent her from making a sound, while Lin Jiyun subconsciously covered Chun Mengyan's mouth. The two of them released their hands at the same time and smiled at each other. In fact, Yang Ming had already noticed the movement outside, but after taking a look with his special ability, he didn't care. Instead, he was a little surprised. What happened today? Usually, none of them came, but now all three of them came. Looking at the appearance of the two girls, he knew that they wanted to peep. But peeping is just peeping. Whatever. Anyway, they are my wives. I'm not afraid of them. Yang Ming didn't pay attention to Chen Mingyan and Lin Jiyun anymore. Zhou Jejia, on the other hand, was mesmerized by Yang Ming. She really didn't notice the things outside her body. It turns out that someone got there first. Chen Mingyan looked at Lin Jiyun with a smile and whispered,
Oh.
Sister Jejia is so bold. Lin Jiyun looked at Zhou Jejia's exposed chest and said with a blush, Hee, Sister Lin, you're the pot calling the kettle black. I'm afraid that if you were in Yang Ming's arms, you would do the same, right? Chen Mingyan joked.
I didn't.
Lin Jiyun denied with a blush. Yang Ming is really bad. Chen Mingyan looked at Yang Ming kissing Zhou Jejia, but his hands weren't idle on Zhou Jejia's chest. She said with some embarrassment, His hands aren't idle. Lin Jiyun thought in her heart, This is not bad. When Yang Ming and I did that, his hands weren't idle either. But she was too embarrassed to say it out loud. She didn't know that Chen Mingyan also had the same idea at the moment. Sister Lin, do you think that Yang Ming will push Jejia down today? Chen Mingyan didn't know what was wrong with her. She actually said such evil words. Lin Jiyun was stunned for a moment, then she blushed and said, It shouldn't be. Jejia's memory hasn't been restored yet. She lost her virginity in a daze. It shouldn't be what Yang Ming wants to see, right? Because she had a similar experience, Lin Jiyun felt that Yang Ming wouldn't be so reckless. Sigh, I think so too. I wanted to take a look. Chen Mingyan was a little disappointed. Sister Mingyan, why are you so perverted? Lin Jiyun blushed and giggled. I'm not. You're the pervert. Drag me along with you. Let's accompany Yang Ming together. Chen Mingyan retorted, embarrassed. Listening to the conversation between the two, Yang Ming felt great. It seems that my 3P, or even 4P career, is expected to be realized. This Lin Jiyun is really a wonderful person. She actually has such an amazing idea. It's worthy of praise. However, Lin Jiyun was right. Although Zhou Jejia took the initiative to come today, Yang Ming really didn't have much other thoughts besides kissing and hugging her. Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun had similar thoughts. After all, Chen Mingyan's lie could only be hidden for a while, but it couldn't be hidden forever. If Zhou Jejia recovered her memory one day and remembered the past, would she regret it if he pushed her down so recklessly? Therefore, Yang Ming still gave this decision to Zhou Jejia. Everything would wait until she recovered her memory. He didn't want her to have regrets in her life. Zhou Jejia was panting in Yang Ming's arms. She suddenly remembered that her mother was still waiting for her in the room. She came here just to hug Yang Ming, but she didn't expect to be kissed and touched by him for so long. In a shock, Zhou Jejia quickly struggled to jump away from Yang Ming's arms. She buttoned up her pajamas and rushed out of the door. Ugh. Yang Ming wanted to stop her, but it was too late. It's over. It's a crash. Chen Mingyan and Lin Jiyun were watching enthusiastically, but they didn't expect Zhou Jejia to suddenly rush to the door. Sister Chen and Sister Lin were shocked. What happened to Sister Zhou? Did she find out that we were peeping, so she came to take revenge? But it didn't seem like it. Looking at her shy face, it seemed that she didn't notice them. However, even if she didn't notice it now, she would notice it soon. Chen Mingyan and Lin Jiyun wanted to hide, but it was too late. Yang Ming's room was at the end of the corridor on the second floor. Where could they hide? At this time, Zhou Jejia had already noticed them. She was stunned on the spot. After a while, she said, Sister Mingyan, Sister Jiyun, you guys, we didn't see anything. We just came to talk to Yang Ming. We just arrived. Chen Mingyan was afraid that Zhou Jejia would be embarrassed, so she quickly explained. Who knew that even an idiot wouldn't believe her explanation? Didn't see anything? Isn't this just giving away 300 taels of silver? Zhou Jejia was embarrassed. She screamed, covered her face, and ran away quickly. Chun Mengyan and Lin Jiyun were also helpless. They could only talk to Zhou Jieji tomorrow. Mengyan, Jiyun, since you are here, come in. Let's play a game together. Let's play the game of pushing the train. Yang Ming lied on the big bed in the room and shouted shamelessly. Play a game? Chun Mengyan snorted. Who wants to play with you? Dream on. I came to accompany you with good intentions, but I didn't expect you to bring Zhou Jieji here. Looking at Zhou Jieji, she must have been pulled by Yang Ming halfway. Sister Lin, let's go. Let him play the game of pushing the train alone here. Chun Mengyan turned and walked to her room. Lin Zian looked at Yang Ming pitifully and sighed sympathetically. Then, she looked at Chun Mengyan, who had gone far away, and chased after her. AI. Yang Ming shook his head helplessly. I'm really unlucky. What is this? Come together, go together, leave together. Isn't this asking for my life? No, in the long run, how can I handle it? When I am free tomorrow, I must arrange a rotation of days and set a time and date for them. Every day, one. Yang Ming thought very evilly. Zhou Jieji ran back to her room. Her heart was still beating. She closed the door and covered her chest. She couldn't catch her breath. Jieji? What's wrong with you? Mother Zhou looked at her daughter strangely. Why did you take so long to go to the bathroom? No, nothing. Zhou Jieji quickly waved her hand. She tried to pretend to be calm, but she couldn't hide the blush on her face. Mom, Okay. Mom won't ask. Mother Zhou was also a shrewd person. She guessed that her daughter was lovesick and did something ambiguous with Yang Ming. Mom. Zhou Jieji saw her mother's strange eyes and couldn't help but complain. Silly girl. Mom is also an experienced person. I won't scold you. Mother Zhou stroked Zhou Jieji's hair lovingly. Besides, you have grown up. Mom isn't an unenlightened old antique. When her mother said this, Zhou Jieji was even more shy. She lowered her head and didn't dare to speak. Chapter 10:13. Mom, don't talk about it. Zhou Jieji was very shy. In the past, she was full of resentment for her mother's self-assertion. She even almost ran away from home because of it. She didn't like Wang Jitao at all, and she wasn't willing to accompany Wang Jitao to eat at home, according to her mother's wishes. If it weren't for the shooting incident, Zhou Jieji would probably have run away from home. Well, then Mom won't talk about this. Mother Zhou smiled and patted the bed next to her. Come, Jieji. Come and lie with Mom. We haven't talked about intimate things for a long time. Today is a good opportunity. Let's talk together. Talk about what? Zhou Jieji was nervous. Her mother's topic today mostly revolved around Yang Ming, which made Zhou Jieji blush. Just talk about you and Yang Ming. Mother Zhou smiled. Mom, didn't you say that we won't talk about this? Why are you still talking about it? Zhou Jieji blushed and acted like a spoiled child. Yeah, Mom means that we won't talk about the previous one. Let's talk about what you did just now. Mother Zhou smiled. Let's talk about other things. Zhou Jieji's face was red, like a child who was caught by her parents for telling a lie. This child, you are so big and still shy. Mother Zhou smiled. Jieji, is Yang Ming good to you? Very good. Zhou Jieji lowered her head and said carefully. Then do you have that? Mother Zhou looked at Zhou Jieji and asked with a smile.
What?
Zhou Jieji was stunned, and then she understood her mother's meaning. Her face was even redder, and she didn't dare to look up. Looking at your appearance, you shouldn't have it yet. However, according to my observation, the other two girls should have had that kind of relationship with Yang Ming. You and him will have a problem sooner or later. Mother Zhou said seriously, so, as an elder, I still have to remind you of some things. I don't object to this kind of thing, but I don't support it either. You can decide for yourself, but you must be careful and don't get pregnant. Mom, what are you talking about? Zhou Jieji covered her ears and didn't dare to listen anymore. She never thought that one day she would talk about this topic with her mother. Suddenly, Zhou Jieji realized that something was wrong and asked her mother strangely, "Mom, you said that I haven't done that with Yang Ming?" Although it was a bit embarrassing, Zhou Jieji was eager to know the truth, so she asked, "What's wrong? Was his mother's judgment wrong? Could it be that you and Yang Ming have already?" Mother Zhou glanced at her daughter and asked strangely,
I
"I don't know. After I was injured, I seemed to have amnesia and disappeared, so I don't know how far I have progressed with Yang Ming." Zhou Jieji shook her head. She didn't know much, so she didn't know if she was still a virgin. But when her mother said this, Zhou Jieji suddenly had some doubts. Amnesia. Is there any serious problem? Mother Zhou was immediately shocked after hearing it. Her expression changed, and she looked at Zhou Jieji anxiously. "Why didn't you tell your mother before?" "Mom, the doctor said that it's just a partial amnesia. It's a period of time before the injury. It doesn't affect other things." Zhou Jieji said, "It's not a big problem, so I didn't say it." "So that's the case. You scared your mother." Mother Zhou breathed a sigh of relief. "It's good that you're fine." "Mom, then about me and Yang Ming." Zhou Jieji was eager to know the answer, so she quickly reminded her mother. "Then, let me check it for you?" Mother Zhou looked at her daughter's anxious look. Although she didn't know what she was anxious about, she still said so. Then let's check it." Zhou Jieji nodded with a red face. "Sister Mengyan, why are we back again?" Lin Jiyun followed Chen Mengyan back to the room and asked with some disappointment. "This guy, Yang Ming, makes me angry just by looking at him." Chen Mengyan snorted. Zhou Jieji's mother rarely comes here. Jieji still has to accompany her mother, but she was pulled away by Yang Ming to do bad things. This person, really, let him reflect on himself. Lin Jiyun sighed, but it was no wonder that Sister Mengyan would be angry. Yang Ming couldn't bear it for such a night. He even wanted to harass Jieji. Wasn't he afraid of being found out by Jieji's mother? Seeing that Lin Jiyun didn't speak, Chen Mengyan thought about it, and her anger disappeared. She looked up at Lin Jiyun and asked hesitantly, "Sister Lin, did I go too far? For the past 2 days, the three of us were together. Even if Yang Ming wanted to, he couldn't get close to us. Today, Jieji was finally alone. How could he let go of this opportunity? It seems that his approach is reasonable." "I think so too. Yang Ming didn't know that we would go to him." Lin Jiyun nodded. You little traitor. You only know how to speak for Yang Ming." Chen Mengyan tapped Lin Jiyun's forehead and smiled helplessly. "You must be blaming me in your heart just now, right?" "I didn't." Lin Jiyun shook her head quickly. "You're my sister. What you do, I naturally follow you. You see, you said what's in your heart, didn't you? Obviously, you didn't want to come back, but just because I'm your sister, you follow me back, right?" Chen Mengyan smiled and pinched Lin Jiyun's hand. Lin Jiyun bowed her head. She really wanted to stay just now. "Well, you should go. Yang Ming will be anxious in a while. He will blame me again." Chen Mengyan pushed Lin Jiyun's shoulder and wanted to push her off the bed. "Sister Mengyan, let's go together." Lin Jiyun blushed and said shyly, "I won't go. I was the one who took the lead to leave. If I go back now, wouldn't he laugh at me?" Chen Mengyan smiled bitterly. "It's better for you to go by yourself, but..." Lin Jiyun saw that Chen Mengyan didn't go, and she was somewhat uneasy. "You go today and I go tomorrow. Is this okay?" Chen Mengyan saw Lin Jiyun hesitating, so she added a sentence. "Well, then, Sister Mengyan, I'm going." Lin Jiyun still couldn't put down her face. "Okay, don't dawdle here." Chen Mengyan saw Lin Jiyun's look and urged her. Lin Jiyun then put on her slippers and walked out of the room while looking back every 3 steps. Looking at Lin Jiyun's back, Chen Mengyan sighed. For a long time, she always considered herself as Yang Ming's real girlfriend. She always wanted to fight for the first place, but when she fought for it, she found out that it was so difficult to be the first wife. She couldn't be too indulgent with Yang Ming, but she couldn't be too cold to Yang Ming. She also had to balance the relationship between other girls and Yang Ming. For example, today, how could Chen Mengyan not want to be with Yang Ming? But if she didn't set a good example, it was estimated that the family would be in chaos in the future. She didn't want Yang Ming to be addicted to beauty too early and neglect his business. Therefore, Chen Mengyan wanted to give Yang Ming a limit. She couldn't let him do whatever he wanted, but she was afraid of giving Yang Ming the impression that she was spoiled. Chen Mengyan had to sacrifice her own interests and give some opportunities to others. Chen Mengyan sighed. She curled up in the quilt alone, and there was a trace of tears in her eyes. This was probably what they meant by, you win some, you lose some. Lin Jiyun carefully came to Yang Ming's room. She wanted to push the door directly, but she hesitated and knocked on the door. Yang Ming was depressed. Suddenly, he heard footsteps in the corridor again. He quickly looked over with his special ability. When he saw that it was Lin Jiyun, he was overjoyed. Little Yun is still the one who cares about me. It's not in vain that I usually treat her so well. Yang Ming jumped up from the bed. When Lin Jiyun knocked on the door, he opened the door abruptly. Yeah. Lin Jiyun was shocked. She covered her chest. When she saw that it was Yang Ming, she was relieved. What are you doing? You want to scare me to death. Hey. It turned out to be Jiyun. I didn't know that you were outside the door. Yang Ming said innocently, I didn't want to sleep in a long night. I wanted to come out and walk around to see if I could gain anything. But I didn't expect that before I went out, the harvest came. Lin Jiyun's face was slightly red. She said softly, I just wanted to see if you were asleep. There is no other meaning, then I will go back. Yang Ming smiled and pulled Lin Jiyun. Have you seen a sheep spit out after entering the wolf's mouth? How could Lin Jiyun really want to go? She was just a little shy. After being pulled by Yang Ming, she was pulled into Yang Ming's room and went to Yang Ming's bed for a long time. Lin Jiyun lay on the bed lazily. She didn't want to move, but when she thought that Chen Mengyan was still alone in the room while she had fun with Yang Ming, she couldn't bear it. Looking at Yang Ming, who was breathing evenly beside her, she sat up gently. Jiyun? What are you doing? Although Yang Ming was asleep, he was still very sensitive to the things around him. When Lin Jiyun moved, Yang Ming woke up. I am going back to sleep. Lin Jiyun saw that Yang Ming woke up and said apologetically, Why are you going back to sleep? Isn't it good to sleep here? Yang Ming held Lin Jiyun's hand and didn't let her go. Sister Mengyan is still alone. Lin Jiyun sighed and explained, Just now, Sister Mengyan was too embarrassed to come. She asked me to find you, but I can't be ungrateful. Yang Ming listened to Lin Jiyun's words and understood everything. It turns out that Chen Mengyan is too embarrassed. It's really hard for her. What's so good about being the master of the harem? Chapter 10:14. Throughout the dynasties, the emperor's harem was the most troublesome place, and the empress was also the most difficult. It wasn't difficult to be a dictatorial empress, but it was difficult to be an empress that the emperor liked. Balancing the relationship between the concubines was the most difficult, and doing so would sacrifice a lot of her own interests. Although Yang Ming wasn't the emperor, Chen Mengyan's duties weren't much different from that of the empress. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. It was really difficult for Chen Mengyan. Why bother? However, Yang Ming also knew that there had to be a woman who had the final say in the family. Otherwise, when he wasn't at home, the family would be in chaos. However, listening to Lin Jiyun's words, Yang Ming couldn't help but find it funny. Ungrateful? It was lucky that she could say it. Yang Ming shook his head and said, Then, can you sleep here? I'm going to find Mengyan. You're going? Lin Jiyun was stunned, and then she said happily, Okay, that's great. Sister Mengyan will be very happy. Then, my little Yun will have to be alone in an empty bed. Yang Ming pinched Lin Jiyun's face and smiled. Chen Mengyan tossed and turned, but she couldn't sleep. Looking at the empty bed beside her, she felt a little lost in her heart. Suddenly, there was a sound of the door being opened. In the darkness, Chen Mengyan couldn't see clearly. She thought that Lin Jiyun came back. She was suddenly happy. She thought, this girl didn't forget to come back to accompany me after having fun. She still has a conscience. However, Thinking that there was no one accompanying Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan still said, "Sister Lin, why are you back? Go back quickly. If Yang Ming finds out that you're missing, what should we do?" "Hee, I'm not your sister Lin. I'm your brother Yang." Yang Ming smiled and went to Chen Mengyan's bed. He said shamelessly.
Ah.
Chen Mengyan was shocked. "Yang Ming, why are you here? After your little sister Lin had her fun, she thought that her big sister Yen hadn't had her fun yet, so she sent me over." Yang Ming said with a mischievous smile. She thought to herself, only men have it the hardest. At this time, they should be sleeping, but they still have to go back and forth between the rooms. "You're so annoying. What are you saying? It's so unpleasant." Chen Mengyan suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. What did he mean by pleasurable? This Yang Ming was really getting more and more outspoken. "Nothing, but you will know soon." Yang Ming hugged Chen Mengyan and kissed Chen Mengyan's red lips because he was in his own home. Yang Ming slept very soundly and did not deliberately wake up early. When he woke up, he found that it was already late in the morning. He looked at both sides of his body. There was no sign of Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. Last night, while Chen Mengyan was asleep, Yang Ming tiptoed back to his room. He carried the sleeping Lin Jiyun and put her in the master bedroom on his other side. Haha, I don't know what expression these two little girls will have when they wake up and see each other. Yang Ming put on his clothes and went downstairs, but he saw the three women sitting in the hall downstairs, chatting with Mother Zhou. "Yang Ming, you're really too much. How can you sleep so much?" Chen Mengyan saw Yang Ming coming downstairs and couldn't help but blame. "Anihua's been waiting for you for a long time."
I'm sorry.
"I've been fucking too much recently, haha." Yang Ming laughed and said. Chen Mengyan didn't understand the implication in Yang Ming's words. She glared at him and said, "Anihua's going back to Donghai in a while. Jia wants to send Anihua back to Donghai for 2 days. Are you free? Let's go together? Go home?" Yang Ming looked at Zhou Jia in surprise. "Jia, school is about to start. Are you going home?" "I just miss my mother a little. I will be back after 2 days." Zhou Jia lowered her head and whispered. Last night, after Zhou Jia let her mother check, she found that she was still a virgin, which meant that she hadn't had that kind of relationship with Yang Ming. However, if this was the case, then according to what Yang Ming said, she used to be Yang Ming's girlfriend, which was somewhat inconsistent with the reality. Did my whole person, including my body, cross over? Thinking of this, Zhou Jia began to have some doubts because this possibility was too small. At least, except for online novels, she hadn't seen any other precedents. Zhou Jia decided to go home first and think about what had happened recently. Since Zhou Jia said so, Yang Ming naturally had no reason to stop her. He looked at the time. It was only 9:00 in the morning. A round trip to Donghai would take more than 2 hours. It shouldn't delay Zhao Ying's move in the afternoon. So he nodded. Let's go. Let's go together. We can visit Auntie Hua's company. Auntie Hua's company is far worse than your family's. Auntie Hua smiled. However, it's good to visit in advance. Anyway, it will be Jia's dowry in the future. When Zhou Jia heard Mother Zhou's words, her face suddenly blushed. The 5 people packed up and ate some porridge made by Auntie Li. Then they were ready to go. President Hua had her own car. After a call, the driver came. It was a Toyota 4700, which was more suitable for long-distance driving. Yang Ming's car was also off-road. The 2 cars, one in front and one behind, didn't have any difference in speed. Zhou Jia and President Hua sat in one car. Yang Ming, Chen Mengyan, and Lin Jiyun sat in another car. They went to Donghai one after another. Yang Ming hadn't come to Donghai for some time, but he was already very familiar with this road. President Hua's company was located not far from the commercial center of Donghai. She bought an entire floor of a building. The scale was relatively large, but there was still some gap between it and the previous Wang's Century Xiongfeng Group, let alone Yang Ming's current industrial scale. Hee Yang Ming, I've let you see a joke. The company isn't big. President Hua now knew about Yang Ming's property, so she became humble. Auntie Hua, I have to admit that you are a strong woman. The scale of the company is already very good. My friends are just helping to take care of it. I can't do anything myself. Yang Ming looked at the company, the employees who handled the affairs in an orderly manner, and he couldn't help but sigh. Yang Ming skimmed through it, but Lin Jiyun was very attentive.
She walked and stopped.
She kept taking notes in her notebook. If there was something she didn't understand, she would ask Auntie Hua. In the end, when she left, she didn't forget to ask for some company information and employee management system documents. Yang Ming sighed. Lin Jiyun, you don't have to work so hard. However, since she has her own pursuit and ideas, Yang Ming shouldn't stop her. He should support her to do it. At noon, President Hua entertained Yang Ming and the others at her company's hotel. In the afternoon, when they were preparing to return to Songjiang, Lin Jiyun was hesitant. She seemed to want to say something. Jiyun, what's wrong with you? Yang Ming asked, baffled. Yang Ming, can I talk to you about something? Lin Jiyun asked carefully. What's the matter? Do we still need to do this between us? Yang Ming faintly guessed the reason why Lin Jiyun was doing this. Yang Ming, I want to stay in Donghai for a few days. Lin Jiyun thought about it and said, First, I want to accompany Jia. Second, I want to stay here and learn from Auntie Hua about the company's management. If that's the case, then no problem. Yang Ming agreed, without thinking. He had already guessed the matter, so Yang Ming agreed directly. However, he asked, I don't know if Auntie Hua is willing to teach our families, Jiyun. Auntie Hua was now building a good relationship with Yang Ming. Naturally, she wouldn't disagree. Moreover, her daughter had married into the Yang family. The rise and fall of the Yang family in the future was related to her daughter's lifelong happiness. Since someone in the Yang family was willing to learn how to manage, she was naturally eager to do her best to teach. Auntie Hua was also very clear about her daughter's personality. She wasn't a person who liked to do business. Her interest was in computer programs. She wasn't interested in doing business, so she couldn't force her. Now that there was a ready-made successor for her to cultivate, Auntie Hua naturally agreed. Seeing that President Hua agreed, Lin Jiyun said happily, Auntie Hua, thank you. Don't be so formal. You're not an outsider. Auntie Hua waved her hand and said, Then Jiyun will stay here to accompany Jia. I'm just afraid that Jia will be lonely. Therefore, Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jia stayed in Donghai together. Yang Ming and Chen Mingyan drove back to Songjiang. Yang Ming, you're willing to leave Sister Lin in Donghai? On the road, Chen Mingyan asked curiously.
So that she can accompany you.
No one will be jealous. Yang Ming smiled and teased. You're so annoying. How am I such a stingy person? Chen Mingyan said, You're not serious. I haven't told you about the bad things you did last night. Why did Sister Lin sleep here when you woke up in the morning? Ugh. Probably she was afraid that you would be lonely, so she came back to accompany you? Yang Ming lied without blushing. Nonsense. Chen Mingyan naturally didn't believe it. Sister Lin obviously knew that you were coming over. How could she be afraid that I would be lonely? It must be you who secretly did something bad in the middle of the night and brought Sister Lin here. Yang Ming sweated. He thought, Mingyan, you're really a roundworm in my stomach. How do you know everything I do? He laughed twice and said, Let's not talk about this. I agreed to let Jiyun stay in Donghai because I was thinking about her. Why do you say that? Asked Chen Mingyan. Jiyun has her own ideals and pursuits. She wants to be a successful entrepreneur, so she is working hard now. I can't stop her pursuit of her ideals, so I will support her no matter what she chooses to do, said Yang Ming. After Chen Mingyan listened, she nodded with some emotion. Yang Ming should be right. This is true love. However, thinking that it was only Yang Ming and herself left in these few days, Chen Mingyan couldn't help but be a little happy. Chapter 10:15. Right, Mingyan, I have something to do in the afternoon. I have to go out. Yang Ming thought about it and felt that it was better to inform Chen Mingyan in advance about helping Zhaoing move. Otherwise, With this girl's character, if she found out, it wouldn't be good if something happened. Oh, what are you going to do? Asked Chen Mengyan. This is the case. Sister Ing is going to move in a while. I am going to find some people to help. Yang Ming said truthfully. So that's the case. Although Chen Mengyan was wary of Zhaoying in her heart, she didn't stop Yang Ming when she saw that he was serious. Come back early. With Chen Mengyan's approval, Yang Ming was naturally relieved. After all, Zhaoying was also moving to the Huashang district. If Chen Mengyan saw it, it wouldn't be good. Shortly after the two returned to Songjiang, Yang Ming received a call from Zhaoying. Yang Ming, my class is over. Zhaoying thought for a long time and decided to call Yang Ming. To be honest, Zhaoying didn't want to move. After all, her relationship with Yang Ming was unclear. If she really lived in the house bought by Yang Ming, Zhaoying wouldn't be at ease. However, if she didn't move, Zhaoying was very unsure what Yang Ming could do. Maybe Yang Ming would take advantage of her not being at home and help her move directly. Therefore, Zhaoying had no choice but to call Yang Ming. Sister Ing, where are you? I'm going to find you. Yang Ming heard Zhaoying's voice and asked quickly. I'm at school. I haven't gone home yet. Let's meet at my house later. Zhaoying said. It just so happens that I'm near the school. You wait for me at the door. I'll pick you up now. Yang Ming said. Then, Zhaoying returned to Zhao Ying's original home. The two people began to get busy. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to call Bao Sanli to send a few people, but Zhaoying disagreed. She said that it was inappropriate to ask others to do some private things. Therefore, Yang Ming had no choice but to help Zhaoying personally. You go out for a while. Yang Ming helped Zhaoying put the computer in the box, but he heard Zhao Ying's shy voice.
Go out?
What for? Yang Ming was stunned. I want to pack up my underwear, Zhaoying said with a blush. Oh. Yang Ming scratched his head and turned out of the room. He thought, no wonder Zhaoying didn't ask others to help. It turns out that there are these things. Zhaoying was living here temporarily. There weren't many things. The furniture was originally in the house. It wasn't Zhao Ying's own, so it was only a dozen cardboard boxes to pack it up. Yang Ming suddenly remembered that Zhao Ying's new home had no furniture, so he quickly called Bao Sanli and asked him to buy some furniture as soon as possible. The sooner the better. It was best to get it done within an hour. Bao Sanli had many underlings, and it was something that Yang Ming personally instructed. Naturally, after hanging up the phone, they went to the furniture market. They selected, paid, and directly loaded it into the car. It was done in one go. The underling security guards were free porters, so they were very efficient. After all this, Bao Sanli took his people to drive a truck to Zhao Ying's house downstairs. At this time, Yang Ming was also ready. When Bao Sanli's people came, they began to move the cardboard boxes downstairs. Zhaoying had seen Bao Sanli before. She knew that he was working for Yang Ming, so she wasn't too polite because these people were giving face to Yang Ming. Yeah? In the car, Zhaoying suddenly exclaimed, Yang Ming, it's broken. What's wrong? Yang Ming saw Zhao Ying's shocked look and wondered, what's broken? We didn't prepare the furniture. Zhaoying said with a sad face, it's all your fault. You were in a hurry to move. I just remembered that there is no furniture in the new house. After moving over, how can I live? Haha, it turned out to be this matter. Yang Ming didn't care and laughed. You're still laughing? Zhaoying was slightly annoyed.
What's so funny about this?
You can rest assured. I have already prepared these things. After you move over, you can live there directly. Yang Ming smiled. Then why didn't you say so earlier? You made me worry. Zhaoying breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, after arriving at the new house, Zhaoying looked at the new house incredibly. From the bed, wardrobe to home appliances, TV, and refrigerator, everything was available. It couldn't be more thoughtful. Yang Ming just told Bao Sanli that they were going to buy furniture. Bao Sanli didn't know what specifically was needed. He was afraid that he would miss something, so he bought everything that could be used. After putting Zhao Ying's things in the house, Bao Sanli left, leaving only Zhaoying and Yang Ming. Sister Ing, how is it? Are you satisfied? As Yang Ming spoke, he also looked around at Zhao Ying's new house. Bao Sonli's work was still very reassuring. Seeing that he even bought things like an induction cooker and a soy milk machine, Yang Ming couldn't help but nod slightly. Yang Ming, thank you. Zhao Ying looked at the new house that was fully equipped and was filled with emotion. Yang Ming's consideration was so thorough and detailed that it was even a little beyond her expectations. When Zhao Ying graduated, she came to Songjiang to teach alone. She was poor. After struggling for many years, she couldn't save any savings, let alone buy a house. Although there were cheap economic houses for rent, it wasn't her own home. This feeling of drifting made Zhao Ying very uneasy. Zhao Ying sometimes dreamed that when could she have her own house and a place to stay. She didn't expect that Yang Ming would help her get what she wanted. What are you thanking me for? Yang Ming smiled and said, this is what I should do. Sister Ying, you don't have to be polite to me. Anyway, I am very happy. Zhao Ying shuttled back and forth in each room. Although she knew that it was inappropriate to accept such a big gift from Yang Ming for no reason, she was reluctant to refuse. I thought you would be happy to give me a hug. Yang Ming sighed and said with some disappointment. What? Don't talk nonsense. Zhao Ying said with a red face. Hee, it's just a pure hug to show that you are very excited. I don't mean anything else. Yang Ming laughed twice. Together, the two unpacked the things that had been moved before and then put them in place according to category. When Yang Ming saw the oversized round bed in the bedroom, he couldn't help but smile. Bao Sonli is very good. He knows to buy such a big bed. When all the things were arranged properly, the two were so tired that they sat on the sofa and couldn't move. Zhao Ying was physically tired, while Yang Ming was mentally tired. He spent a lot of effort to help Zhao Ying design the layout of the new house, which gave him a headache. Yang Ming, I suddenly feel like I am dreaming. Is this my home? Zhao Ying looked at the chandelier on the ceiling and muttered to herself. Hee, this is our home. Yang Ming said shamelessly. We? Zhao Ying's face suddenly turned red. What we? I didn't say it. It was Ani Wang who said it. She said that she wanted to buy a house for us to live in. Yang Ming said with a smile. How can you believe what my mother said? She is like that. She always says something inexplicable. Zhao Ying quickly explained. Zhao Ying knew her mother's thoughts better than anyone else. However, this thing of love also depends on fate. What would the future of Yang Ming and her be like? Only God knows. Hee, let's not talk about her. Yang Ming said with a smile. Right, you still have a car in the car dealership. You even called me that day and asked me when I would pick it up.
Ah.
Zhao Ying was stunned and suddenly remembered that when her mother was in Songjiang, she actually spent Yang Ming's money to buy a BMW for herself. She was a little annoyed. My mother is really a person. How can she buy it so casually? Otherwise, let's sell the car? You will lose money if you sell it. It's not cost-effective to sell a new car as a second-hand car. Yang Ming said, it's better for you to keep it and drive it yourself. But after moving here, I am closer to the university.
I don't need a car, right?
Zhao Ying also understood that no matter how new the car was, it would be a second-hand car once it was bought. She would lose a lot of money if she sold it. There will always be a use for it. Yang Ming said, you are a graduate student who finishes class late. Our community is big. I am more assured to drive back and forth. Zhao Ying knew that it was difficult to change Yang Ming's decision, so she no longer made futile efforts. Sometimes it was really annoying to think about it. Yang Ming was really overbearing. Right, Sister Ying? Have you seen the gift I gave you? Yang Ming saw that Zhao Ying was not special today, so he couldn't help but ask.
Ah.
After you left last night, I went asleep. I just came back today and was moving. I haven't had time to see it yet. Zhao Ying said, why? Is there anything wrong? Nothing. Yang Ming quickly waved his hand and said, I just suddenly remembered. I just asked casually. Since Zhao Ying hadn't seen it yet, Yang Ming couldn't say anything. If he said too much, it would cause Zhao Ying's suspicion. Zhao Ying was a bit puzzled, but when she saw Yang Ming say nothing, she no longer asked, Yang Ming, What do you want to eat later? I will go and prepare. Sistering, we are very tired today. We just cleaned up the new house, so we won't cook. I will cook the bottom of the pot another day. Today, let's go out and find a restaurant to eat. Yang Ming suggested. Zhaoying thought about it.
It was indeed so.
Her arms and legs were still sore, so she nodded and said, okay, then we will go out and eat later. Looking at Yang Ming next to her, Zhaoying suddenly had an illusion that she was like a newly married wife, happily sitting with her beloved. Chapter 10:16. The two people rested for a while and looked at the time. It was about time for dinner. Yang Ming stood up and asked Zhaoying on the sofa, where are we going to eat? There are a lot of snacks nearby. Let's just walk around. Zhaoying didn't have a clear place to go, so she could only look around. The two packed up and went downstairs. Zhaoying was now more and more like a student. Although she was a few years older than Yang Ming, it was hard to tell who was older when she stood with Yang Ming. What's more, Yang Ming was tall and big. In contrast, Zhaoying was cute and lovable. The two were a match made in heaven. The two went downstairs and came to the door of the unit. Yang Ming was ready to start the car, but Zhaoying stopped him. Yang Ming, let's walk. It's not far anyway. I'm not used to sitting in the car all the time. Zhaoying suddenly missed the feeling of strolling on the street with Yang Ming every night in high school, but she was embarrassed to say it, so she had to find an excuse. Yang Ming didn't care anyway. Since Zhaoying liked to walk, there was no problem. So, the two walked side by side in the direction of the entrance of the community. The winter night was still very cold. Zhaoying had just been busy and sweaty. When the cold wind blew, she couldn't help but shiver. What's wrong? Sistering, are you okay? Yang Ming saw that Zhaoying seemed to be cold and asked with concern. I'm fine. I just went out, so I'm not used to it. Zhaoying smiled slightly and shook her head. But when she wanted to say something, she suddenly felt that there was something more on her body. When she looked back, she saw that Yang Ming put his coat on her body. Yang Ming, what are you doing?
Put it on.
Zhaoying was shocked and quickly wanted to stop Yang Ming. You will catch a cold like this. Yang Ming firmly pressed the clothes on Zhaoying's body. He smiled indifferently and said, I'm not cold. My body is fine. Don't you remember? When I was in high school, I often did this and I didn't catch a cold. Yang Ming's physical fitness was very good and he had undergone special training. When he was training in Europe, what kind of bad environment had he not been in? If he caught a cold so easily, why would he be an assassin?
He should just go home and sleep.
After being reminded by Yang Ming, Zhaoying also recalled that night in early spring when the two of them were walking side by side on the street. Yang Ming had helped her put on his coat. Only in the dead of night would Zhaoying remember this kind of beautiful memory, and she would slowly recall the sweetness of it. However, that was April when spring had already begun, and now it was the cold February. How could it be compared? Thinking of this, Zhaoying hurriedly said, Yang Ming, quickly put it on. Otherwise, I will get angry. I'm really fine. Seeing that Zhaoying was really insistent, Yang Ming took the coat off of Zhaoying's body and put it back on his own body. While the two of them were arguing, they arrived at the entrance of the district. However, they saw a petite and delicate figure walking towards them. It was actually Wang Xiaoyan. This girl was probably jogging. No wonder his body was so strong and didn't have any fat at all. It turned out that he paid so much attention to training. Yang Ming couldn't help but lewdly think of the night before yesterday, when he and Wang Xiaoyan made love with each other. Wang Xiaoyan obviously also saw Yang Ming and Zhaoying. While Zhaoying wasn't paying attention, she secretly glared at Yang Ming. However, Yang Ming didn't care at all and calmly accepted it. The two of them were only in a cooperative relationship. Why would you care who I was with? Wang Xiaoyan saw Yang Ming's coquettish appearance and obviously thought of this point. She turned her head away and didn't look at him. On the other hand, Zhaoying, seeing Wang Xiaoyan coming over, was very embarrassed. It was as if he had stolen someone else's things and felt a little guilty. Just as she didn't know what to say, Wang Xiaoyan greeted her generously. Sistering, What a coincidence. Yes, yes, what a coincidence. Zhaoing said quickly, and her face squeezed out a few unnatural smiles. Sistering, why are you here? Are you going to visit Yang Ming's house? Wang Xiaoyan was very natural. There was no trace of pretentiousness and inappropriateness in her words. However, it was no wonder. As an assassin, she usually had many layers of disguise. It was normal for her to not express her emotions. Xiaoyan, I bought a house here. Zhaoing hesitated for a long time. In the end, she didn't say the fact that the house was bought by Yang Ming because it was too embarrassing. Really? That's great. Wang Xiaoyan said with some excitement. After I moved, I missed you. In this way, we are neighbors again. Sistering, you have to come to my house often. It's boring for me to be alone. Okay. Zhaoing nodded guiltily. She thought, if I bump into you and Yang Ming, let's see if you still welcome me. Hee, sistering, then I won't delay you and brother-in-law. I'm leaving. Wang Xiaoyan originally wanted to satirize Yang Ming with a few words, but now that the two had become a cooperative relationship, Wang Xiaoyan held back. Brother-in-law? Yang Ming and Zhaoing were stunned at the same time, but the two people's thoughts were different. Zhaoing thought, why did Wang Xiaoyan call Yang Ming brother-in-law? Looking at Wang Xiaoyan's natural appearance, could it be that I really thought wrongly? There is no other relationship between Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming? Thinking that Wang Xiaoyan was a carefree person, it wasn't strange to eat a bowl of noodles with Yang Ming. Yang Ming's thought was very evil. Brother-in-law. Then, didn't Wang Xiaoyan become my sister-in-law? The night before, the two were still crazy for a night. Thinking about it makes me excited. Zhaoing wanted to say something, but Wang Xiaoyan had already run away. Zhaoing had to shake her head helplessly. Perhaps I really thought wrongly? Although she was suspicious, Zhaoing was absolutely embarrassed to ask Yang Ming about this, so she just passed it by confusedly. Anyway, it didn't have much to do with her. It was Chunming Yan who should worry about it. What did it have to do with her? As long as her relationship with Yang Ming didn't change, as for the other things, she didn't care. I don't know if there is any delicious food around here. Yang Ming knew Zhaoying's thoughts, so he changed the topic from Wang Xiaoyan to food. You have lived here for so long, and you still don't know what is delicious? Zhaoying was somewhat helpless. I seem to be a newcomer, right? I just lived here for 3 or 4 days. Yang Ming shook his head with a bitter smile. But it's okay. This place is close to the school. If it doesn't work, we can go to the snack street near the school. Zhaoing nodded, and the two wandered around the community aimlessly. Yang Ming, can you eat spicy food? Zhaoing suddenly pointed to a Sichuan restaurant not far away and asked. Yes, the Anhui beef plate noodles are so spicy. Didn't I eat it with relish? Yang Ming looked in the direction Zhaoing pointed and found a Sichuan restaurant with good decoration and scale. There were several cars parked in front of it. It seemed to be quite popular. Then let's try it. Zhaoing nodded and said, it's quite cold. I want to eat something spicy. Okay, no problem. Yang Ming smiled and said, however, fortunately, you are not my girlfriend yet. Otherwise, things will be big. What do you mean? Zhaoing listened to Yang Ming's words. She was somewhat inexplicable. What does he mean by, fortunately, I am not his girlfriend yet?
What does he mean by this?
Is he hinting at me? Or is he just saying it casually? However, how did things become big? Haha, that day, I saw a forum. There was a guy who posted a post saying that his girlfriend liked to eat spicy food. They always went to the Sichuan restaurant to eat. As a result, every time they finished eating, he could deeply understand what is burn, firebird. Yang Ming explained with a smile. Burn, firebird? Zhaoing obviously didn't understand. What does this have to do with the burn, firebird? Bird? It's the abbreviation for chicken. Yang Ming smiled. So the firebird is... Zhaoing wasn't a pure little girl. When Yang Ming said this, she immediately understood the meaning of the forum post that Yang Ming said. She suddenly blushed and said angrily, Yang Ming, why do you think about these messy things? How can I think about it? I just felt it. Yang Ming spread his hands innocently. That was what the guy on the forum said. What does it have to do with me? Humph. Zhaoying snorted and said, even if I am your girlfriend, I won't do that kind of thing for you. Or I will eat spicy food every day. Humph. Yang Ming saw Zhao Ying's look and couldn't help but laugh. He thought, this kind of great task should be handed over to Wang Xiaoyan. This chick is bolder. She dares to do anything. As for Zhaoying, her relationship with Wang Xiaoyan was so good. It would be good to learn more from each other in the future. There was no hurry. The two entered the Sichuan restaurant together. Under the guidance of the waiter, they came to a table for 2 people. The business here was very hot. Yang Ming originally wanted to find a quiet place, but now it seemed that it was good to have a seat. Fortunately, there were only 2 people. There was a group of 4 people who didn't have a seat before. What do you want to eat? The waiter was a Sichuan girl. She kindly put the menu in front of Yang Ming and Zhaoying. Yang Ming pushed the menu to Zhaoying and said, you order first. See what is delicious. When Zhaoying and Yang Ming came in, a man in sportswear sitting at a table not far away looked at them with excitement and insidiousness in his eyes. I was thinking about how to retaliate against this kid. I didn't expect him to come to me and create a wonderful opportunity for me. It's really effortless. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.